I, 38 male, found out my wife, 36 female, cheated in the beginning of our relationship. My wife and I have been together since 2010, married in 2016. We both work full-time and don't have kids. We've been trying for a while without success, though recent events left me wondering if I really want this with her. We met when we both got into university. Me in 2007, her in 2008. We were friends before we got together. At the end of 2009 and the start of 2010, she was going through a bad time in her relationship, and I ended up supporting her with a mutual friend of ours. She broke up with her ex, and a few months later, one thing led to another, and we ended up kissing, which led to me inviting her on a date, and the rest just happened. We were officially together in 2010, and I couldn't be happier. Our marriage and relationship in general were always pretty good. We've always communicated well, and I never had a reason to suspect my wife was cheating. Last Saturday, there was a barbecue in her brother's house. I got inside to get some stuff in the kitchen. While I was looking inside the fridge, I overheard my wife talking to her sister in the other room. I wasn't trying to snoop on them at first. I really don't do this kind of thing. But then I heard something like, "OP can never know about this." Well, of course, that was my cue to actually snoop. I hid and listened to their talking. Apparently her sister almost cheated on her boyfriend and was feeling guilty, and my wife told her about the same time that she slept with a guy who was a lab assistant with her at the university after we started dating in 2010. We were exclusive, see edit 2. In her own words, she said, "I wasn't sure things with OP would work out at the time, and I just allowed myself to do it. I felt guilty once I saw how much he loved me and treated me well, and I could see a future with him." Then her sister started asking if something else happened later in the relationship, and my wife was like, "No, it was just that one time and I wish I could forget about it." I haven't talked to her about this yet. I'm not even sure how to approach her. I feel incredibly hurt, and I know confronting her right now may just worsen things. Again, I never had reasons to suspect that she cheated, but she hid this from me all these years, and now that I just found out, it feels like she just cheated on me. I'm really broken. She noticed that I'm not myself these past few days, and I dismissed it by saying that it's just stress. But she knows me, and she will keep trying to get an answer. I don't know what to do. Should I just try and forget what I heard? I don't know if I should talk to her right now or process it in therapy first. In the comments, Snoo Recipes says, "The betrayal just happened to you, no matter how much time has passed for her. You can't bury it, as it will come out in many different unhealthy ways. If you want to keep growing together and be healthy, happy, and have a safe, supportive relationship, she has to own it and work towards regaining your trust." His partner is still thinking about it and still hiding it from him. The only thing you will always remember are the things you wish you couldn't. Also, one thought. Until you get your head and your heart sorted on this, you may want to hold off on trying for a child. If this proves to ultimately be a deal breaker, that's only going to highly complicate everything. OP says, "No worries. No way I'm even getting hard with all of this going on." Boss. A man that only thinks with one head. I hear you, man, and I feel for you. Sometimes shit just sucks. Please try and keep yourself good, exercise, eat right, get outside. You know, all that stuff that keeps our mind and bodies right. Back up to the post, there's an edit. I decided that I'll talk to her, but not right now. I'm still very upset, and I don't want this to turn into a shouting match. I want it to be a conversation, not a fight. I have a therapy session today, and I'll speak to my therapist about it. Hopefully, it'll help me start this conversation with my wife. Had I known she cheated at the time, I would have broken up with her. I understand everyone's saying just leave, but this is the person that I built my life with, the person who supported me in so many ways and helped me grow as a person and a professional. Before I make any harsh decisions, I want to hear what she has to say about this, and then I'll decide for myself what will be the way forward. No, I don't believe she cheated on me any other time than this. She never gave me any reasons to think she did. I've always had access to her phone, she was never secretive of anything, and we spend most of our free time together. But how she will answer when I talk to her about it will surely either confirm this or change it completely. Edit 2. I talked to my therapist. It helped me a lot. My head is in a much better place now, and I will talk to my wife tonight. My decision on what my next steps will be based on the way that she reacts and responds to me. Also, people are assuming that we weren't exclusive when the cheating happened. We were. Words were lost in translation as "after we started dating" literally means something in French, in my mother tongue. And this is something we say in my country only when couples are exclusive, which was our case. We did have a phase of friends with benefits when we were both seeing other people, but we knew about it. I still count it as cheating, and no one should diminish your feelings on the fact that this happened so long ago. You're only just finding out about it now, and she never intended for you to learn about this in the first place. That is just out and out infidelity. You deserve to handle this in whatever way you see fit. If you still see a future with your wife, go for it. But I wouldn't blame you for breaking up with her over this one. It's absolute shit to have to deal with something like this, and my heart goes out to you. You didn't deserve that. She should have been honest with you from the jump and let you decide at that time whether you still stay with her after she slept with someone, but she chose not to do that, and the consequences of those actions are hers to bear. That'll be entirely her fault and not yours at all. You're not a bad person if you choose to walk away, but I respect you if you choose to remain and work through this. And now, onto the update. I received a lot of good feedback on my other post. As usual, there's the Divorce Now crew on Reddit, but among those, I was actually surprised to see good suggestions. Anyway, after I made the post, I talked to my therapist. She helped me put things in perspective and made me really think on what and how I value my relationship with my wife. She made me realize that I really needed to have this conversation with my wife, but not about the cheating itself, but about how she hid it from me. Last night, I decided to speak with my wife. I waited until we were both chilling and called her to our bedroom, saying I needed to talk. She tensed up and went with me and asked me what was wrong. We both sat on our bed, and I had to hold myself together not to break down in front of her. I said I heard when she spoke to her sister about the time that she cheated when we started our relationship. Yes, when we started being exclusive. I said I was hurt a lot, but even more due to the fact that she hid it from me. I asked her why she did it and why she never told me anything. She broke down crying in front of me. She said it was true. It happened right after we became exclusive. She said that us being friends at that time, and even having a friends with benefits phase, made her fall in love with me pretty fast. At the time, she had some friends that kept encouraging her to stay away from me because she was getting too much attached and too fast, and she needed to wait and have more fun before going all in into another relationship. When I asked her to be my girlfriend, she said she really wanted to be together with me, so she said yes. But her being a naive idiot at the time, her words, she let herself get influenced by those friends. And in one of those nights out, she got drunk and ended up making out with the guy that worked with her in that lab. She said that it was just them making out and nothing sexual happened. And she swore that she exaggerated the story to her sister, but they did not have sex. She said she regretted it immediately and left the party for her home and cried all night. I said it was irrelevant if they had sex or not, it was the fact that she kept this hidden from me that hurt the most. She cried again and said that it was wrong of her. It was a stupid mistake and she just wanted to pretend that this never happened. She said she was afraid I was going to leave her for something so stupid and didn't have the courage to tell me. She swore she loved me and never felt anything for anyone else after we got together. Then she begged me to forgive her, again saying that it was a stupid mistake of a young and naive girl who had gotten out of a bad relationship and let herself be influenced by bad friends. I felt she was honest, and I mean it. I believed every word of hers, and I feel that she genuinely regrets what has happened. I said I forgive her, but I wouldn't be able to celebrate the date of our start again. So we decided to pick another date. We now celebrate our marriage anniversary and the date that we moved in together. She deflated like a balloon after we spoke. She said that it was tormenting her to keep this secret, and she blank. I don't know why OP stopped writing there, but okay. I'm not gonna lie and say this situation did not leave a mark on our relationship. It did. Things definitely shifted, but not in a we need to end kind of way. But talking to her really did me good, and I love her more than anything in my life. Even though it hurt me, I am now certain we will both be able to navigate this together. Edit. People are getting crazy over my bad English again. Apparently hookup means having sex, and I didn't know that. I meant make out. Not everyone on Reddit is from the USA. In the comments, Undoubtedly says, wow, she had a chance to completely come forward and still decided to change the story from what she told your sister? Look at the incentives in place. What incentive is there to make it look worse to her sister, and what incentive is there to make it look not as bad to you? Yeah, I don't buy it at all. Why would she tell her sister the truth, but exaggerate parts of it? Also, her blaming her friend's influence is her trying to abdicate herself from responsibility. Who says, oh, my friend found a guy she really likes, he seems to really like her, they've been friends and hooking up for a while, and just became exclusive. That's bad for her. Let's get her to go to another guy. The wife is completely full of shit. Sorry, OP, but she wasn't honest then and still isn't honest now. Yeah, she is not being truthful. What advantage is there to lying to her sister? I know you don't care whether they slept together. The lying and hiding it is absolutely the more important issue here, but I would still feel like she's holding something back. You both need individual and couples therapy to adequately address this, I think. Why do we lie to the people that we claim to love and trust the most? Those are some hard-hitting questions, and I hope that OP reads all of this and forms their own opinion as to whether the wife was lying or not. Because that is definitely a plot hole that needs filling. I need to know why she lied to the sister then. What logic is there? But at the end of the day, I don't think the wife can be truthful to herself, and that means that she can't be truthful to anyone else. It's just flawed all around. Like I said before, I respect if you want to stick it out with your wife and fix things with her and work on the relationship, work on the marriage. That is up to you. That is not something that anyone else can judge you for and say, that was a mistake, what's wrong with you? It's obvious you should have divorced. Like, no, life is not black and white like that. It's not how it works. But I definitely think that you can't really ever trust her fully after this situation because she's not being truthful with you. There is a lie there. She told your sister that she slept with this man, but then backtracks and goes, oh, no, I just kissed him. I just kissed him. Oh, okay. Why would your friends tell you to go do that when you're exclusive with this guy? It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense. And you ate that hook, line, and sinker, OP. I question why you did that, and you're acting like everything's hunky-dory now. Please go talk to someone and get them to work through this situation with you, because it seems like there's more going on under the surface that you are happily able to just ignore and pretend like everything's okay. If that's how you want to process the situation and move on from it, completely fine. Absolutely. Let 1,000 blossoms bloom for all I care, but take the advice of the commenters if you ever have a nagging thought about her not being completely honest with you. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update. Am I the asshole here for flirting with another girl after my girlfriend introduced me as a friend? Me, 28 male, and my girlfriend, 29 female, have been together for more than 2 years. We recently moved city, and she started working in a new place 3 months ago. 2 days ago was an after-work get-together event at a bar with her co-workers, and she forgot her phone charger at home and her battery was low. I went to give her the extra power bank that we have at home as her phone uses the old USB type. As I went to her table to give it to her, one of her colleagues asked who I am. Before I could say anything, she replied, "Well, this is my friend, OP." He agreed to lend me the charger. I was a bit taken aback and looked at her and said, "Friend?" And she just laughed and said, "Haha, you're so funny. Thank you for this." and waved to me, as in implying goodbye. One of the other colleagues asked me that if I was free, I can also join them, and I said, why not? And I could sense the annoyance on my girlfriend's face. People were drinking, some talked to me and asked me questions, made conversation, like what did I do, where did I grow up, etc. I should mention at this point that my girlfriend and most of her colleagues there were Chinese, and I am Indian. This becomes relevant later. Whenever someone would ask me anything related to how I met my girlfriend, she would pipe up to answer in a way that wasn't untrue, but completely omits any romance, giving the impression that we were just old friends. This kept bothering me, and I'll admit I was getting pretty angry. Then one of the colleagues, who initially asked who I was, pretty drunk now, said, "Girlfriend's name never told us how she had such a good-looking friend," and laughed. My girlfriend also did a small polite laugh. I replied, I didn't know she had such a pretty colleague either, and winked at her, which made her laugh more. But my girlfriend became visibly upset. Another colleague said to my girlfriend, "Seems like you're an expert Cupid." My girlfriend was turning red, and I was also feeling slightly uncomfortable, so after a bit more chit-chat, I made an excuse and said that I had to go. The colleague said that I should get her number from my girlfriend, and then I left. Now, when she came back, she refused to talk to me, and yesterday she angrily told me that I had kind of cheated on her and hurt her badly. I replied that although what I did was hurtful, she also needs to own up that introducing me as just a friend was hurtful. She refuses to acknowledge it as wrong, saying that she's just socially awkward, and she thought that her colleagues might react weirdly to her dating an Indian guy, as they're all dating white or other Chinese people. Her reasoning is that it's a lot of explanation and questions regarding interracial dating, and she just wanted to avoid all of that. I don't buy it. I feel like she just wanted to hide the fact that she's dating me. We are at an impasse. I refuse to apologize until she sees what she did was wrong, and she thinks she didn't do anything wrong and that I was mean. Am I the arsehole here? In the comments, Bitter Paramedic says, absolutely not the arsehole. Your girlfriend essentially erased your relationship to her new friends. New friends, I might add, who clearly didn't give a toss about your ethnicity. Your judgment was right. She just didn't want to admit that she was dating you. I'm sorry, but that's a deal breaker. I would love to buy this man a drink for the way that he handled it. She didn't want him to be her boyfriend in this group, so he didn't act like it. Beautiful. She literally created the situation and then watched it unfold in front of her. If she just said, "This is my boyfriend," her colleagues wouldn't be hitting on him and they wouldn't feel comfortable with him calling them cute. Not the arsehole. Your girlfriend introduced you as just a friend after 2 years together. That's hurtful. Flirting back was petty but understandable. She can't hide the relationship and expect you to act like her boyfriend in front of people she's hiding you from. You both need to talk honestly about why she's ashamed to acknowledge you. She was embarrassed in front of her Chinese colleagues that she wasn't dating a Chinese man. That's a red flag. I am Chinese. Can verify. Our culture is very racist, especially when it comes to men from India or surrounding areas. Girlfriend was embarrassed to tell co-workers who she was dating. Simple as that. I don't believe that it was social anxiety at all. Girlfriend had no problem talking to her co-workers outside of the one issue with admitting that he's her boyfriend. Sounds like the truth to me, and I'd believe it. I'm gonna go with not the arsehole for flirting with another girl because she refused to humor any notion that you guys were romantic or involved at all. So what was she expecting? Oh yeah, I'm just your friend, and when people flirt with me in front of everyone else, I'm not allowed to flirt back because we are actually more than friends, but, I have all these restrictions on me now because of you and your shame in dating me. No, I think what she did was incredibly rude, and she deserved a little bit of pettiness from you, flirting with her friends. Like, what does she expect? She can't have her cake and eat it too. That's not fair on you. And now, onto the update. To answer some questions people had, in the work friend group that day, there were 3 guys as well. I didn't publicly correct her because saving face is quite important for her. She would have had a literal panic attack if I had done that. On Friday, we talked. I admitted that I was petty, but I was also hurt from her introduction as a friend. She broke down. At work, they have a group chat where they share memes, and it gave her the impression that they hate Indian people. She did not want to become the topic of jokes, so she had planned to introduce me slowly to the group, as a friend, and after they start liking me, reveal that we are dating. This had backfired badly because I started talking to them last week before she was ready, and she got anxious and went into autopilot mode to support her initial lie that I was a friend. She felt helpless, guilty, and hurt when they found me acceptable and cool, and I started flirting. So why didn't she tell me all of this earlier? She felt that it would make me dislike her coworkers, who were otherwise actually nice people, and I would feel bad that she works with them. I asked her if I could see that group chat. I wanted to make sure this was the reason, and not a work crush as many suggested. Almost 1/3 of the older memes they shared were Indians dirty, uncivilized, or Indian horny creeps, etc. Y'all know, there's plenty of them on Instagram. There were also some about Southeast Asians, all mostly posted by one guy and one girl. Others would just laugh react or do a one-liner. I scrolled back to an old message by my ex-girlfriend to one of these memes, and she had said, "I have an Indian friend. He's pretty nice actually." Someone had replied, "You found one of the clean ones," to a bunch of laugh reacts. There were also some recent messages after they met me, but I didn't bother to read and translate it at all. I realized that although she liked my personality and looks, she was never very interested in my language or culture. Since I started dating her, I got an HSK3, can cook most Chinese dishes perfectly, know all about her region, but Holly will come and go without her still knowing what Holly is. I felt hurt by how those kinds of jokes weren't a big enough deal for her. I asked her why she never said anything to them about these jokes. She said this is the kind of reaction why she didn't tell me before. She feels like a relationship is private, and it's not a part of who she is as a person, especially at work. So she saw no reason to create tension. I feel like she just means that I'm not worth it. I asked her point blank if she would have preferred if I was not Indian, and she said it would have made her life easier. That stung me. I packed some clothes and I went to a friend's house. I don't even know how to write about my feelings even now, but I felt very hurt, as if my trust was completely broken by her. My friend is going on vacation and will let me stay at his place while I find a new one. Today, I went to get my other belongings, and she was crying a lot. She says she doesn't understand why something so minor can make me break up and throw away a good thing. She says she loves me, and if it's so important, she will change her workplace. I told her that I need to think about things, but I cannot be with her right now. My brain honestly feels like a jumble right now. I know that I feel hurt, but I'm having a hard time articulating what the things are that hurt me. In the comments, Rich Ad says, "It's interesting that she feels that erasing a whole part of who you are is something so minor. She wasn't proud of you, didn't defend you, didn't have the courage to call you hers publicly. So she loses all the goodness that you are. OP, I'm proud of you for choosing yourself and holding a line. It would be easy to just try to get past this, but you're honoring your worth. Your ex can find an easier partner more aligned with her ingrained racism, but in the meantime, you're going to go on kicking goals in life." Exactly. She hid who OP was and called it minor. That's not love or respect. Yeah, you did the right thing by choosing yourself and walking away. Bruh, this is not minor. She is delulu if she thinks their racism and her own is minor. You were absolutely right to break things off with her. Do not ever consider getting back with her. Racism should be a deal breaker, end of story. Not minor at all. If there ever was a hill to die on, this seems like one of the most important ones. She's all like, "I love you" in a secret room behind closed doors. Why isn't that good enough for you? It makes me sad that some people only find validation from acquaintances that they decide are important because of their perceived social standing and nothing else. Those co-workers don't care about her. She knows it, and yet she won't do a goddamn thing about her situation apart from crying and blaming OP for her own shitty, racist, non-minor actions. Once again, completely agree. And I question why she got into a relationship with OP and stayed in a relationship with OP if she doesn't actually want to be public with him. It doesn't make any sense. It's incredibly disrespectful all around. And if she was so ashamed of him, why did she waste his and her time? What was the point of it all? She can't and refuses to be honest with herself, so why should OP take anything she says as the truth? Being like, oh, I actually do love you. I do love everything about you, and this relationship, it's perfect. But there's just a little minor issue of the racism, the tiny little racism worm that's in my brain. Like, that's what it sounds like from her. And that destroys everything. I don't believe that she ever liked OP. I don't believe that she was happy in that relationship. I feel like she was lying to herself, and all she did was hurt everyone in the process. OP, you deserved better. None of this was your fault, and you're not an asshole for what you chose to do throughout this situation. Thank you for bringing this story to us. I hope all goes well for you in the future. Our next post is by user I am low-key suffering 51, and it's titled, I, female 23, love my partner, male 24, so much, but I don't think I can do this anymore. So me and my partner have been together for almost 7 years, getting together when we were both 17 and in college in the UK, and honestly it's been so calm and peaceful in the relationship. We've never argued once, we are very relaxed people when it comes to our time together, and he's been there for me when I was going through the worst thing a person could go through in regards to health. I love that man with all my heart. However, the entire time we've been together, there's always been a specific thing that has been a topic of discussion between us, mostly from my side, and I'm starting to feel myself pulling away from him because of it. For context, he had his heart broken so severely by his first love. Yes, he was young, but the girl had done irreparable damage to his mental health and heart, so much so that he'd pretty much given up on the idea of completely opening up ever again, no matter what. That's what's been the most difficult thing to deal with the entire relationship between us. I'm someone who's always been a very emotional person. I feel things deeply, I cry at every little thing, and I love to laugh and feel warmth from everyone I surround myself with. But my partner is so cold, unbothered by everything. I'm not too sure, but he's never really been invested in the relationship. He doesn't even consider our date nights as dates, but he swears he's joking. He isn't a mean person. Not at all, but we've never had that type of connection that you could say where you have the deep-hearted conversations about life, our future together, or quite literally anything else. I love talking. I'm a professional yapper, but he isn't. I never really used to mind it since I could carry the conversations, but man, I'm getting exhausted. We talk about a lot of things, but unless it's something he brings up, there's not really much said from him. I try and make conversation about shows we could start watching, or even wanting opinions on something like world events, or things we could go and do for an adventure, and all I get in response are, okays, and I don't knows, you'll be fines. What really kickstarted the whole I don't want to continue this feeling was last weekend. I mentioned to my partner that my mum had gotten a bouquet of flowers from my stepdad, and they are absolutely beautiful. I casually asked him why he never bought me flowers. I've asked him plenty of times, but alas, he never has. He looked at me and just sighed and said, I don't feel like having this argument right now. Oh no, not good. It kind of took me back a little because I didn't think such an innocent question would be considered kick-starting an argument. Like, yeah, it was slightly out of the blue, and I guess it could come across as accusatory, but I was just curious as to why he's never gotten me flowers, especially if I'd mentioned it numerous times previously in our 7 years together. I thought he'd respond with something resembling a fair reason, but he just sighed again. I just smiled at him after that, because I knew he wouldn't be getting me flowers anytime soon, and I didn't really want to push it. A few days after that, I mentioned that I wanted to book us a little day out for a nice meal, or even just a cinema date, since the weather is currently so beautiful, and I hate being stuck inside the house when it's as warm as it has been lately. and it's been a long time since we had a date night. All he had to say about that was, "Can't we just stay home?" Bro is depressed. I felt a little bit of my soul die right there and then. All we ever do is stay home these days. I've had conversations with him about how this nonchalant approach in our relationship isn't helping us grow together as a couple should. But every time he just shrugs, promises he'll be better, and the cycle just repeats. I've always said that if we ever broke up, it would be because he broke up with me, because I love him with my entire being. But I think I'm about to turn into the biggest, fattest liar I know. Is there any chance I could get through this without having the same conversation a millionth time? Or is breaking up my only option? Questions are welcome. This is a bit of a chaotic mess because my mind is running at 1 billion miles per hour over this, and I don't know what to do. In the comments, Thumatingra says, "It sounds like your partner may be dealing with some form of depression. Has he ever tried therapy? It might help him process what he's going through now, as well as his past trauma, and how or if they are connected. Talk to him about how this is affecting you. Explain where you are right now, calmly, gently, without accusation, but firmly. Give him a chance to figure out if it's a mental illness and to commit to trying to get better, especially since he supported you through something difficult. By the way, how did he support you, if he's always so distant? But if he doesn't want to deal with things and grow, then you can't make him. If his response is that he isn't interested in trying to deal with this issue and working on himself, then he isn't really interested in working on the relationship. Lifetime relationships are a lifetime of work, though, of course, if it clicks, it gets easier over time, though not linearly, of course. Commitment to a relationship is a commitment to do the work. I hope he can do that, but if he can't, then it doesn't seem as though it would make sense for you to keep trying either." OP replies, "I've asked him to try therapy before actually, because I go to therapy every few weeks for my own traumas, and it's really helped me to stay so level-headed with my emotions. But he always looks so offended when I bring it up, and he just says that that's how he is. His family are the same too. They never argue, but there's definitely a rift between his parents that's never really been resolved. I'll definitely talk to him more firmly about this though, if I can get through it without crying." Again, very emotional person here. I've had this conversation a handful of times, specifically about him opening up and being vulnerable with me, but it never changes. And he supported me while I was going through chemotherapy mid-COVID times. He helped me manage my pain and came with me to my appointments, made sure that I was getting the care that I deserved. He's very much a physical person instead of emotional, if that makes sense. I never asked him to do a thing once while I was going through that. I expected him to be scared off by it, to be completely honest. I really do hope he acknowledges that he has to do some work on himself to make this long-lasting. I've seen relationships fall apart because the individuals weren't ready for serious commitment and the effort that's required to keep it going, especially if it doesn't just fit perfectly like a puzzle, and I'd hate to see that happen to us. Thank you for your advice, kind stranger. I guess from my point of view, there's so many things you could assume about a situation like this. And I was watching a TikTok before talking about raising children and how if you don't teach and emulate healthy conflict resolution, it can cause major problems down the line when they develop into adults. That stuck out to me when OP mentioned the part about the parents that have a rift that has not really been fixed between them. One might assume that that rift has been there for quite a while and they have not emulated healthy conflict resolution within their interpersonal relationships, and that, I assume, again, has affected the boyfriend in this instance, and he's decided to be nonchalant instead of questioning his reality, questioning why he's like that, and then working to fix the problems that his parents started. I guess that would also tie into the want for therapy, the want to work on yourself and your relationship. And it's not easy to do. It's not easy to want to do either. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Only someone that wants to be helped can benefit from your help. And it seems like OP is doing a lot of pushing on him, and he just does not want to change. It really just seems like, yeah, if that continues, the relationship is going to end because there's only so much OP can put herself out there for him before the relationship kind of burns out. It's sad to see, but it's just how some relationship dynamics work out. And now, onto the update. I finally had the chance to have us both sit down and have a genuine conversation about how I've been feeling about being neglected in my needs when it comes to going on dates, having flowers, and how his I don't care nonchalant attitude has been grinding me down to sand over the last couple of years. And I'd like to say that it went well, however, there's one big thing I realized slightly too late, and now I'm even more stressed. The conversation went on for about 2 hours. Before I started, I told him straight up that I need him to tell me how he feels about the things I say. I need input from his own behalf about his views of the relationship when it comes to it, and what he thinks I could work on myself about behaviors I'll be mentioning, so on and so on. For about 95% of the time, he was projecting a very normal, I don't care attitude, laughing at some of the things that I was bringing up and not saying anything else. I asked him to please take this seriously, and he'd still continue to joke around. He was sitting very comfortably, reaching for his phone every so often, and I'd have to kindly remind him that this isn't the time for doom scrolling. It genuinely felt like I wasn't getting anywhere inside that head of his. That was until I said, word for word, if we both don't make a change that will be healthy for the both of us in the long run, we need to break up, and I don't want to do that, but I will if I have to. I've never seen with my own 2 eyes someone switch up so damn fast. It was actually dizzying. The moment I mentioned breaking things off, he suddenly went into a caring and protective tangent, holding my hand and saying all the nice things he was laughing off not even 10 minutes before I dropped that bomb on him. He immediately started saying that we can organize date nights for every fortnight, he'll do it too so it isn't all on me. We can go to the cinema soon, and he'll book us in for nice meals afterwards. I can choose where. He asked me why I never brought this up to him before, and then it was my time to laugh, but man oh man, I have plenty of times. It's just obvious he wasn't hearing me. And I won't lie, it felt nice to be actively talking to him and listen to him talk so alive about us going out and being a couple, and that we aren't just housemates. It felt so nice to hear those words come out of his mouth, and he sounded like he genuinely wanted to do it too. I had never seen him so passionate about us before, but like I said, the switch up was so fast, and I later wondered why, after almost a 2-hour conversation, did he immediately go from unbothered to practically getting on his knees and marrying me right then and there. And it's because he knows he can lose me in a heartbeat. He's never been in this situation with me before. I don't think he ever thought that it would happen, so he just naturally assumed I never would initiate a breakup, no matter how lazy he got. So when I said those words, it was like his survival instinct was to beg and plead and promise to be better. And I genuinely did believe him in the moment. However, now I think it's even worse, purely for the fact that it took me mentioning me leaving to get him to get his act together. I'm not sure I believe it's coming from a place of honesty and genuine want to make it work, but it shouldn't feel like that, should it? So now, I find myself in an even worse predicament than I previously was. Because as I said, why did it take this being the only thing to get him to hear me? After so many times I've spoken to him, asked him, practically begged him in previous years to make a change, to actually do it. As always, questions and advice are welcome. My previous post has some answers you could be looking for. Edit, I would just like to add, I asked him afterwards to please try and not immediately feed me with plans to go out. I want it to feel natural and organized. I know it's counterproductive, but I said that I'd like us to sit on our discussion and let it come naturally, not out of pressure to just do something. However, he has come up to me with about 17 different things that we could do together, and I'm slightly overwhelmed. This was just in the last 2 hours. I posted this 5 hours ago. In the comments, Copper Frog says, he's not worried about losing you, he's worried about losing the convenience of the relationship. It's easier for him if he doesn't have to start all over again with a new girlfriend. OP says, as horrible as it is, I genuinely think this is the case. We live together, so it's just convenience more than anything. My darling armadillo says, you should probably make a backup plan. Find a new place, even a shared place. He's likely to do well for a week or two, and then go back to normal once he thinks you've gotten over it. Decide whether you can live with it. It sounds like you know you can do better, and what you're going to do about it. He knows full well what he is doing, and he'll do it for as long as he thinks he can get away with it. Yeah, he might change for a week or even months, but it's highly unlikely to be permanent. You should leave. OP says, that's what I've been thinking ever since I had the realization. Like, this definitely isn't going to be forever, and it's awful that I already know that. Affectionate Bite says, this is so common. The minute breakup/divorce is mentioned seriously, the other person will suddenly make all the changes you've been begging for, which means 1, they are capable of doing those things, and 2, will do it only when faced with being alone. And usually once they think you've settled back in and things are fine again, things will slip back into the old routine. Do you want to waste time going through this again? You have a whole wonderful life ahead of you, and as someone over twice your age, I can tell you the years fly by. Don't waste them begging someone to treat you well. OP replies, they are capable of doing those things, has hit me like a brick, I tell you. I don't know why I didn't see that. I think that was why I had such an uneasy feeling when I realized he only said those things after I mentioned leaving. Holy cow. I do not want to waste time going through this whole routine again. I'm currently bedbound after last night, and it's burnt me out so badly. I don't want to put myself through this ever again when he eventually becomes passive once more. It sucks, it really truly sucks, but I think I'd rather go through the pain of losing a man that I had so much faith in, rather than the pain of being disappointed a million times over. Thank you so much, truly. Your words have done something in my mind that I didn't think was possible. And yeah, for now, that is a very fresh story. There isn't the final update in which it appears that OP is going to break up with him. I know some people will say, Marky, oh, you're giving him too much credit in your first assessment of the situation. Couldn't you just say that he's a bum-ass loser, like it's obvious, instead of, making all these excuses for him? Sure, I could do that, but I like seeing the humanity in other people as well. There could be a multitude of reasons as to why someone is the way they are. That's why I continue to say, I assume, instead of saying, this is the case. Because yes, look, it turned out he was kind of a bum-ass loser after all, and he is love-bombing her. It's what you expect someone to do in a relationship when they're about to be broken up with. Of course, but it is also true that you don't give in to love bombing because they don't mean it. They see you slipping out of their grasp and they want to maintain control. It's not cool. If he wanted to, he would. I truly believe that. If he wanted to be a better boyfriend, he would have been a better boyfriend before this, but it's only when faced with a breakup that he's like, I need to do everything in my power to keep her under my grasp because this is a relationship of convenience. It is not a relationship in which he actually likes her. I believe that. That's not even an assumption. I truly believe that. Anyway, good luck to him when she eventually breaks up with him. OP, you deserve so much better than this man, and I know you will get better than this man. Thank you for sharing your story, and good luck going forward. I just found out that my girlfriend has a very strange fetish, and I don't know what to do next. My girlfriend has always been a fairly blunt person. She's sex positive and speaks her mind about whatever topic, regardless of if other people might find it embarrassing to talk about. She doesn't hide her phone from me, but I also have never wanted to go through her phone, and I'm the same with her. Recently though, I was setting up YouTube on our new smart TV, and she logged into her account so we could get videos recommended easily. And that's when I saw it. I had gone into the search bar and seen recommended searches of sneezing videos. They had descriptors in there that popped up in all of them, like rapid and fits. Now, my girlfriend had made jokes before about getting her porn from YouTube, and I never really pried, because I assumed it was just a one-off joke, or something about something obscure. She was obviously embarrassed and asked for the remote back, where she turned the TV off. She wasn't frantic or anything, but it was clear to me that she didn't want me to see that. She explained to me that she has a fetish for sneezing. Not herself, but watching others do it. Men or women, she doesn't care, but she's bisexual to begin with. She told me that she's been this way since she was a little kid watching cartoons and not understanding why she was so interested in the episodes where characters would get sick. I just told her that I accept her interests and that I wouldn't have been grossed out if she had told me earlier. She told me that someone had dumped her before over this, and she was looking for a good time to tell me. I assured her that I would never do that, and that was the conversation. It's been a few days now, and I don't really know how to continue with the information that I have. I'm not considering dumping her at all, but I just feel like it's a bit awkward. We've been dating for 4 years, and she's never told me this before. Plus, am I supposed to act on this at all? Or would that be creepy? I'm honestly kinda scared that I'd do something wrong somehow, if I tried to act on it. She had mentioned that there is forums and all sorts of stuff just for sneeze fetishists, so maybe I'm ridiculous, but it almost feels like there's a community for it, and I would be intruding. Maybe I should just swallow my pride and ask her what I should do. Do any of you have experience finding out that your partner was into something that you weren't? Especially if it was something so out of left field. Did you do anything with that information, or did you think that it was best to leave it be? Thank you for any advice you can give. In the comments, this is probably the most benign kink I've ever heard of. Delivering on a partner's kink can be very rewarding, and it doesn't sound like this would be harmful at all. Dig in and enjoy what it does for her. How would you deliver on this kink, though? I wonder if she's just as turned on by fake sneezes as real sneezes, or is it like how those overly exaggerated moaning kills the mood over a genuine moan? Comments by OP. I totally get why she wouldn't share. It just doesn't make it less awkward on my part. But I totally don't judge her for it at all. Honestly, this post is probably entirely just me being in my own head too. I hope you found or will find someone who accepts all of you as well. She told me it's like something in her brain is just wired differently, like how some people like feet and stuff. I don't know enough about the subject to really say, but I do believe her when she says that it's a biological thing. She told me that her ex who left her over this was assuming that she got off on spectating total strangers, or God forbid, children being ill in public. But she's told me that's not the case. Sounds like we're in the same boat of partners with harmful but obscure kinks. It's something I totally want to be open-minded about, and I think I am, given that I'm not grossed out or anything. I think I'll try to indulge her with it sometime soon and see how it goes. You know what? Whatever floats your goat, OP. If that's something you want to indulge in, if you feel like that'll enrich the relationship, let 1,000 blossoms bloom for all I care. I did not know that a sneezing fetish existed until this point, and what a terrible day to have eyes, I think. Not to shame fetishes at all, but just saying, what a terrible day to be able to perceive reality. I've been exposed to a lot of interesting topics across this journey of Reddit that I didn't think I ever would be exposed to, and you guys get to be willful participants of that with me as well. I'm glad that people are able to bond over shared kinks like this one, and not gonna say never let that happiness find me, but if it ever does find me, I'll definitely have some questions. In the unlikely scenario that it does, I'm sure it will be a journey. I'm keen to see what the update is here. And now, onto the update. Sorry if this is too much information or whatever, but you guys don't know me, and we will never meet, so update below. Yep, you're right about that. So yesterday, I took the majority of the comments' advice, and I was just straight up with her. As chill as I could be, I asked her if she wanted to explore her kink with me. No pressure if not. She said yes, and added that she didn't expect me to be super into it, and she expected me to be awkward, but if it was too much, then we could stop. She busted out basically a tiny toolbox full of little things that she had collected specifically for this kink. I didn't go through it myself, or look too hard at what the box had, but she had a little thing of sneezing powder. She had told me that she'd gotten all of that stuff when she was trying to figure out if she was into sneezing herself. So it's mostly gone unused since she realized that wasn't the case. Omitting all the details of what followed, The night went well. She's right that I wasn't super into it myself, but it felt good to do those things with her, so I didn't mind it. I definitely feel like this is going to be an every now and again type of thing, just to indulge her. Thank you to all of the encouraging comments, sharing their opinions, and even experiences of having partners with uncommon fetishes, or having those fetishes themselves. You guys helped me get over myself, though I also blame you guys for the mild soreness in my face. In the comments, the loading Joker says, "Can I ask how she discovered this kink?" And OP replies, "I asked, and she said that she's always been more interested in sneezing cartoon characters than her friends as a kid, and that she put the pieces together that it was sexual when she saw a giantess sneezing animation." Oh, interesting. I like giantesses for different reasons, like the ones in Futurama. Froggy McNasty says, "I need to find a woman like her. My allergy sneezing has always been a massive turnoff, and I have year-round allergies. Seriously, when I need to blow my nose, it sounds like I'm trying to summon a demon or speak some Lovecraftian language. You ever see the turtle in the Never-Ending Story? It's like that." Stan Jolly says, "I don't have allergies, but every now and then, maybe once a month, I have sneezing fits and will just sneeze over and over for about 20 minutes. I didn't realize there was a market for that." Right? If I'd known, I would have tried to market this years ago. I wonder if people prefer volume or length. Someone get a cat. I need to practice. OP replies, "My girlfriend says there's like genres to it. She likes fast sneezing fits. Other people like loud dad sneezes. Lol. Regardless, she said she's always looking for new stuff on YouTube." And there you go, guys. I'm glad I could explore this topic with you today. If you ever need advice on your next side hustle, don't worry about selling pictures of your feet online. Just start sneezing on YouTube videos and then start getting into ultra specific niches with that, you know? Make yourself into a giantess, let one loose on the camera. You'll get paid for it. Who needs ASMR like this channel when you've got a big honker on your schnozzle or something like that? Anyway, thank you for the story, OP. That was lovely. I'm sure your love will only blossom from here. Good luck. Our next post is by user Super Donut, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for not letting my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore?" So I, 21 female, live in a 2-bedroom flat with my roommate, 22 female. We've lived together for a little over a year, and mostly things have been fine. We split rent and bills evenly, and we are friendly, though not super close. We respect each other's spaces, and it's been good up until recently. About 6 months ago, she started dating this guy, 24 male. He was around once or twice a week at first, but now he's here constantly. Literally sleeps over 5 to 6 nights a week, sometimes full weeks in a row. He's not on the lease, doesn't pay rent, doesn't bring shopping, doesn't help with anything at all. Nothing. Another hobosexual. I've never said much because I get it. It's her boyfriend, and I didn't want to start drama. But what's been bothering me lately is the shower thing. He showers all of the time. Like twice a day minimum, sometimes more. What if he has a shower fetish, OP? Let's not shame him for that. And every single time, he uses my stuff. My shampoo, conditioner, face wash, razor, and deodorant. Yes, I noticed. Send him to hell. I'm so serious. Using your razor is crazy. I didn't even say anything the first few times because I thought maybe she let him borrow something once. But this is just ongoing now. I moved all my things into my room and carry them back and forth like I'm at a camp or something. I brought it up to my roommate a while ago and she just went, "Oh, he probably didn't realize," and didn't do anything about it. Last week, I finally said something more direct and told her that I wasn't comfortable with him showering here constantly, especially since he doesn't live here, doesn't contribute anything, and uses my stuff. I told her that I'd feel different if he at least brought his own stuff or chipped in somehow. She got super annoyed and says he doesn't have any money right now, so it's not like he can buy his own things, and that I was being cold and controlling. She told me that I was overreacting and that it's just hygiene. I snapped and said it's not about hygiene, it's about boundaries and respect. For what it's worth, I wouldn't have even minded grabbing him some basics if she just asked, but she didn't, and neither did he. They just assumed I'd be fine with it, and honestly, I don't even really like him. He's not awful, he's just kinda moochy and not self-aware at all. So maybe I'm being harsh because I already find him annoying. Now my roommate's barely speaking to me and told one of our mutual friends that I'm being weirdly territorial and passive-aggressive over a guy just taking a quick shower. I don't know. Part of me feels bad because he's broke, and maybe I am being too harsh. But I also feel like I'm being walked over in my own home. I just need unbiased advice. So am I the asshole here? Throwaway account for anonymity. My normal Reddit account has my name. In the comments, Lizzie Deathstar says, absolutely not the asshole. That's gross and disrespectful. Your shampoo and conditioner once would be one thing, but your razor? Your deodorant? Hell no. He doesn't live there, doesn't contribute. I would bet it's on your lease that it's limited to you two staying there. If your roomie is unwilling to take steps to ensure your boundaries are respected, I would contact the landlord, but do your best to deal with it with your roommate first. OP says, thank you. I'm going to try and talk to her properly when she gets home, but if she brushes it off again, I think I'll go to my landlord. Adnip says, not the asshole. You are absolutely not responsible for him being broke. That isn't your fault and not your problem. Don't make it your issue to deal with. If your roommate wants her boyfriend to stay over and shower there, you have to be treated respectfully about that. He wants hygiene products? Use hers, or she can buy him some. He's using yours without permission? That's theft. She needs to set this whole situation straight. If she won't do that, then let her be mad when you complain to the landlord. Please don't let yourself be walked all over on this. You've dealt with it for 6 months? Point out how nice you've been, because that's so true, and say the party is over one way or the other. Respect yourself. And OP replies, thank you so much. I really appreciate this comment. You're right. I've been more than patient, and I just want to feel respected in my own space. I'm going to try and talk to her properly when she's home, and I'll update after. Fingers crossed it goes okay. The problem is, to be respected, you have to be firm. You were being too nice. You needed to nip it in the bud the first time he did it. Otherwise, you have the issue you have now, but don't back down now. And you've learned if it happens with another roommate, stop it when it first happens. Yeah, absolutely, don't let these problems fester, because it's just not worth it. He's been stealing from OP for 6 months. Why would you let it go on for that long? I get being non-confrontational and whatnot, but 6 months is so much, maybe a week at most, where you're like, okay, I'll ignore it, he'll realize he's being socially unacceptable, and if it keeps going, then I'll do something about it, but oh my god, you have too much patience, OP. I think you're the asshole to yourself for letting him do this to you without doing anything about it and setting proper boundaries, but as the situation stands, with your question, am I the asshole here for not letting my roommate's boyfriend shower at our place anymore? No. You're not, and you could not be the asshole for that. That's called setting boundaries that are way overdue. I hope he wises up sooner rather than later because, my god, I'd be pissed. Using my deodorant and using my razors? I would burn them, and then I'd burn him. And now, on to the update. So I ended up having another conversation with my roommate after she got home. Mostly because I couldn't keep walking around like everything's fine when it's really not, and the comments I read from my previous post helped me to come to that conclusion. I told her as calmly as I could that this situation is seriously getting to me. I get that she's in love, but I'm not just some side character in her life who has to deal with the boyfriend constantly being in our home. I told her flat out that it's been months now of him basically living here, eating, showering, lounging around, sleeping over 5 to 6 nights a week, and it's crossing the line. She's just kinda blinked at me and said I was being heartless. Literally said those exact words, saying I had no compassion for her relationship or for him, or the fact that he barely had any money and needed somewhere to stay most days and needed food, etc. She accused me of being dramatic and of caring more about shampoo than a person who means the world to her. And I just snapped. I told her this is not about shampoo, it's about the fact that her boyfriend, who doesn't pay rent, doesn't contribute to bills, and isn't even on the lease, has been using all of my personal stuff for months without asking. Like, literally, never asked. Not once. Neither did she. He just started helping himself to my shampoo, my conditioner, my razor, my face wash, and my deodorant like I'm running a free hotel and he's a guest. And the worst part is, he barely even talks to me. This man's been living in my space for months, and I swear we've had maybe 2 conversations ever. Half the time he doesn't even say hi when he walks in the door and just walks straight past me like I'm invisible and hops in the shower with my products like it's no big deal. I can't believe I've put up with it for this long. I told her if either of them had just asked even once, I probably would have been chill about it. Like, yeah, he's broke, I get it, because times are hard. I would have even offered to grab him a few basics if he was short on cash, but no one said anything. They just silently decided that it was okay for him to mooch off of me and my stuff, and my space, without so much as a conversation, like I don't get a say in any of this. She got super defensive, like arms crossed in full-on attitude, and said something like, well, he's my boyfriend, and I'm allowed to have him over, it's my home too. And I said, yeah, you are allowed to have him over, but let's not pretend like he's just here sometimes. He's always here. He's been here more nights than not for the past few months, and when he's not sleeping over, he's still around. He's basically moved in without actually moving in, and if he's gonna act like he lives here, then he needs to contribute like he lives here. She just rolled her eyes and said, and I quote, "Get used to it. He's my boyfriend, and as I said before, he has barely any money, so wouldn't be able to contribute anything." And that was it for me. I've been so patient, I've tried to be understanding, I've given them the benefit of the doubt over and over again, but at this point, I feel completely disrespected and walked over in my own home. I realize I'm not overreacting. I'm reacting to months of not being heard and being treated like I don't matter. I'm calling our landlord tomorrow morning. I'm going to explain that this guy has effectively moved in. He's been staying here for weeks on end, using the amenities, taking up space, and not paying a single damn penny towards rent or bills. And if he's going to keep staying here, he needs to start paying his share. I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm not going to keep carrying the weight of a third person in this flat just because my roommate's in a relationship. She's made it clear that she's not going to do anything about it, so now I have to. Thank you for your responses on the previous post. It really helped me come to terms with the situation. Update 2. Thank you guys for all of your help and comments on my prior posts. And yes, if you can tell, I've taken on board the advice about paragraphs and capitalization, lol. I'm sorry, I'm so used to typing with no capitals, and totally just forgot about paragraphs in the stress of me typing it all out. I appreciate everyone who took the time to comment on my last post. It honestly helped me feel so much less crazy about all of this. So, like I said I would, this morning I spoke to my landlord. I was so anxious before calling because I didn't want it to feel like I was tattling or trying to blow things up, but I also knew that I couldn't ignore it any longer. He picked up quickly and was actually really calm and professional about everything. I explained the situation as clearly and as fairly as I could, and told him that my roommate's boyfriend has been staying over 5 to 6 nights a week, sometimes more, using all of our utilities, taking over our shared space, and even using my personal things like it's all free, despite not paying a single penny towards rent or bills, or even any shopping. The landlord paused for a moment, and then told me that it wasn't okay. He told me that technically under the lease, guests are allowed for short stays, like the occasional overnight or weekend, but then said that it's very different from someone else effectively living in the flat, and that if someone is staying over more than a couple of nights a week on a consistent basis, that counts as an unofficial tenant. He said that if my roommate wants him there full-time, he needs to be added to the lease and start contributing to rent and bills immediately. Otherwise, he said her boyfriend will have to seriously cut back on how often he's staying over, and if my roommate refuses to cooperate or tries to keep things as they are, It could result in her being in breach of the lease agreement. He said she could face consequences, including possible eviction if this continues without resolution. That honestly shook me a little, but also validated that I'm not overreacting. Now on to the more awkward part. A few hours ago at around 5 p.m, her boyfriend showed up again. As he came in and went to walk past me like usual, I stopped him and said that I needed to talk to him. He looked caught off guard and kinda gave me that fake confused "about what" expression. But I stood firm and said that I just needed to clear the air. I told him I'd noticed that he'd been staying here constantly and using all of my stuff, such as my shampoo, my face wash, my razor, and yes, I got a new razor the same day that I noticed he was using mine, deodorant, all of it without ever asking. I said I was really uncomfortable with it, especially since he's not on the lease or contributing anything. And that's when he got defensive. He didn't yell or anything, but his tone immediately turned snappy and kind of guilt-trippy. He said something like that he was sorry he didn't have somewhere else to go right now and that he was in a deep place. He then said that he wasn't trying to make my life hard and that he was just trying to survive. Then he launched into this whole monologue about how he's unemployed, struggling with his mental health, that his family all cut him off, he can barely afford food, let alone shampoo, and just how my attitude is another example of people turning their backs on someone who's already at rock bottom. He even asked if I think he wants to be in this position, or if I think he feels good about the way that he lives, like I was supposed to feel guilty for bringing it up. I stayed calm, and I told him that I wasn't trying to kick him whilst he's down, and that if he'd just asked me, I probably would have said yes, and I might have even bought him some basics, but he didn't ask, and he just started helping himself like it was owed to him. He didn't really have a response to that, other than just shrugging and muttering that he didn't think that it was a big deal, and that my roommate told him that it was fine. I said it is a big deal to me. This is my home too, and he's been treating it like a free house that he's allowed to live in, and that's not sustainable anymore. I told him that my landlord's going to get involved now, and things will have to change. Either he gets added to the lease and starts paying his share, or he stops staying over all the time. And if neither, my roommate could end up being evicted. He got quiet after that, gave me some annoyed half-apology, and went into her room. Honestly, I think he was more embarrassed than anything, but I'm not backing down now because I've done my part and I've been patient. I've communicated like an adult, so what happens next is on them. No word yet from my roommate after her conversation with the landlord, which I assume happened as my landlord doesn't usually say stuff and not follow through with it, and she still hasn't come back home, which leads me to the belief that she is furious. That said, I'm done prioritizing her comfort over my own peace of mind, as I have been more than fair. I will update again if and when my roommate says anything to me. Also, I've officially locked my shower stuff away, and the snacks that I'd previously bought were my snacks that I bought with my own money. I went to Argos this morning and got one of those little lockbox storage boxes and slid it under my bed, as some of you suggested. I made a very unique 4-digit code for it too, so hopefully my roommate's boyfriend doesn't go to the extreme of trying to open and snoop through a locked box. Update 3. Thank you for all of your comments and positivity on my previous posts. I'm hoping this will all blow over soon, as confrontation is not my thing in general, and this is a situation I don't really want to be in, as I don't want to be the reason someone who's already struggling ends up on the streets. And before I get into the latest update, I did see a comment asking why I didn't just ask her why he doesn't use her stuff, and the answer is because he already does. He uses both of our stuff whenever he feels like it, but for some reason, it's mostly mine he grabs. Anyways, my roommate came home about an hour ago, just before 12 p.m, and it was obvious from the second she walked through the door that she was furious. She slammed the front door shut, slammed her keys a little too hard onto the side table, and threw her bag down. I was in the living room at the time, and the energy shift was instant. I waited a moment and then came out from the living room, said hello, and asked as gently as I could if everything was okay. She didn't answer right away and just stood there with her jaw clenched before blurting out that she couldn't believe that I actually called our landlord, and then asked me why I was being so dramatic. I stayed calm and said that I already told her that I was going to if nothing changed and that I didn't go behind her back. She gave this bitter laugh and said something along the lines of, "Yeah, well, now thanks to that, our landlord told me in no uncertain terms that my boyfriend is not allowed to stay more than 2 nights a week anymore unless he starts paying rent." She was absolutely livid. She asked me if I even understood what that meant, and then said he literally has nowhere else to go right now, and he's been staying here because he doesn't have a home, not because they were trying to take advantage of me or something. She kept telling me that he was struggling and would have no money to pay rent or bills, and now what, is he supposed to just wander around in the cold at night and freeze to death while you, and I quote, "sleep soundly knowing that your shampoo is safe and sound." Yes, he is. Death to the hobosexual, I say. That last line was so sarcastic, it would have been funny if it wasn't so frustrating and guilt-tripping. I took a deep breath and said that it was not about the shampoo, it was about how he's been here constantly, like literally living here without ever being asked to contribute anything, and literally had barely even acknowledged me ever. I mentioned that I tried to talk to her about it twice, and she blew it off both times. What else was I supposed to do? She crossed her arms and looked at me like I was the most cold-hearted person alive. She told me he was her boyfriend, and of course she would want him here. That he's going through so much, and now I've made it so he feels completely unwelcome. She told me his family just cut him off one day with no reason, and all of his friends stopped talking to him too, and apparently treated him awfully. Which in my opinion seems ironic, but maybe that's just me. Sounds like he has BPD. Sounds like he's a big fat liar. Apparently, he called her after I confronted him earlier and told her that he's going to stay at a friend's place tonight, and he sounded like he was about to cry before he hung up the phone. Then said that this was just another example of people not giving a fuck about him when he needs it most. I literally didn't even hear him leave, so he must have crept out. I could feel the guilt tripping in every word. But honestly, I've reached the point where I'm done letting it work on me. I said that I was sorry he's going through a rough time, but this is my home too. I pay rent, I pay bills, I keep this place going just like she does. I'm not an extra in her relationship. She brought someone into this space without asking. She let him treat it like it's his and didn't lift a finger when it started affecting me. That's not okay. She went quiet at that, still clearly annoyed but with nothing left to say that wouldn't sound like more of the same. After a few seconds, she just said, "I hope you're happy," and walked off into her room, slamming the door behind her. I'm not happy. I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm also not sorry. I've been way more patient than I should have been, and I've tried to handle this like an adult. I don't think her boyfriend feeling unwelcome is because I'm cruel, it's because they both acted like the rules don't apply to them, and that's not my fault. So I guess this is where things stand for now. Tense, awkward, and probably about to get worse before they get better, but I feel like I can see the horizon of no more stolen shampoo, and hopefully this will all be over soon. Thank you for all of your comments. They mean a lot to me. And now onto update 4. Hi again everyone, I just wanted to say thank you again for the incredible support, advice, and unbiased opinions that you've given me throughout this whole mess of a time. I've read every single comment on my last few posts, and it's been genuinely eye-opening in a beautiful way to realize how many people have been able to offer advice when my head was spinning. So it's been tense but quiet since my last post. My roommate has barely spoken to me, and things have mostly been awkward silence or heavy sighs. I've kept my boundaries up and stayed polite, but we both clearly needed space. Yesterday, my roommate and her boyfriend, yes, he was over to collect something of his, had a huge argument. I wasn't eavesdropping, but it was loud enough that I couldn't not hear it as our walls are very thin and they were yelling. He was accusing her of being a bad girlfriend for not sticking up for him when I talked to our landlord, or sticking up for him when I raised an issue. Which she did, lol. He actually said that she let me humiliate him and that she didn't even defend him and said that I had made him look pathetic. He went full guilt trip. saying that she had betrayed him and that real partners are supposed to protect each other. He said he felt humiliated, abandoned, and that she clearly didn't care about him at all. It was like watching someone weaponize hurt feelings just to control his narrative. She was crying and trying to explain, but he kept cutting her off, and then suddenly, boom! He slammed the door and stormed out. She followed shortly after. I thought that was probably the end of the drama for the night. I genuinely felt bad for her in that moment, but then at like 2 a.m. this morning, she came stumbling in tipsy and immediately started shouting at me. She slurred something about me just being jealous and mad because I don't have a boyfriend. I literally couldn't be further from being jealous of her and her boyfriend, as he seems to be so cruel and guilt-tripping towards her. And then she said it's because I can't stand seeing her happy, so I ruin it for her. And then she called me bitter, pathetic, and said that I was sabotaging her relationship because I'm lonely. I didn't even say anything, and I just sat there stunned. She then stomped off to her room and passed out cold. To be a fly on the wall for that one. Oh my god. This morning, I woke up to find her sitting at the kitchen table looking rough. She was hungover and clearly very low. She mumbled something about how she doesn't know what to think anymore and said she thinks that her boyfriend is only with her for money. You think? Maybe. I was genuinely trying to be kind, as I felt bad for her, and it must be a tough situation to be in. I told her that I was sorry she felt like that, and that she deserves better if that's how she's feeling. I thought that we were having a real moment, but then she looked me dead in the eye and said, literally, and I quote, "This is your fault." Oh my god. She's so delusional. I hate her. My jaw dropped. I literally said, "Excuse me?" And she repeated it. She said if I hadn't blown everything out of proportion and gone to our landlord, none of this would have happened, and her boyfriend wouldn't be angry with her. And then said I ruined everything. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't fair. I've been nothing but fair, and I've tried so hard to set boundaries respectfully, communicate like an adult, and not cause drama. I've gone out of my way to make this place livable and still got blamed for everything. And now I'm being guilt-tripped because her boyfriend treats the flat like a free hotel and she's too far gone to see it. Which brings me to the next part of this post. Our lease is up for renewal on August 1st. Our landlord emailed us both yesterday with a standard renewal reminder and asked us to let him know by July 1st if we're planning to stay, so he has time to prep the paperwork or start listing the flats. I've thought long and hard about this, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't want to live with her anymore. Even if her boyfriend disappears tomorrow, the trust and respect is gone, and the ability to feel comfortable in my own home is hanging by a thread. I won't be renewing my half. Whether I find a new place alone or with someone else, I am not staying here. I haven't told her yet because I'm not in the mood to get screamed at again, but I'll be giving proper notice soon and reaching out to our landlord to clarify the process. I'll do it properly and respectfully, but I know that I will no longer live here. I've mentally committed, and this weekend I'm going to start the flat/house share search. I'm equal part nervous and excited. Nervous because I'm in a very good location right now and the rent isn't cheap, but it is reasonable for what it is. I know I might not get quite as lucky again, especially solo, but I'd rather pay a little more than keep sacrificing my sanity. I'm still sad that it came to this because this flat could have been a dream, but I know that I'm making the right decision. I deserve a space that feels like mine, or at least one that I'm not constantly being pushed out of emotionally. So yeah, wish me luck. And if anyone knows of a spare room in a chill flat with non-toxic housemates and boundaries that are respected, feel free to manifest it into the universe for me. Thank you to everyone who's commented and supported me through this absolutely bonkers situation. You made me feel sane and reminded me that I deserve to feel safe, respected, and comfortable in my own home. And now onto update 5. Hi everyone, if you've followed any of my previous posts, first of all thank you, you'll know that it's been a tense, chaotic, and honestly emotionally exhausting time dealing with my roommate and her boyfriend, essentially living rent-free in my flat, while I've slowly been pushed out of my own space and sanity. The messages and comments you've left me throughout have genuinely meant so much to me. A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks, and I wanted to update you properly. Things have continued to be awkward. Very, very painfully awkward. Since my last post, where my roommate drunkenly accused me of sabotaging her relationship and said everything was my fault, she's barely spoken a word to me. I think we've exchanged maybe 2 sentences since then, and they were both household things like, "Have you seen the post?" or "The boiler man is coming on Thursday." Her boyfriend has still been around, despite what was said. Not as much as before, because they're definitely trying to keep it under the radar now that the landlord is aware. She's clearly choosing to keep him in her life, and that's her decision, but I can't pretend that it doesn't suck to come home and feel that tension in the air every day. To be fair, he hasn't touched any of my stuff since the confrontation, probably out of shame or fear that I'll report him again, but the atmosphere hasn't improved. She still looks at me like I'm the villain in her love story, and I'm honestly just so tired of being cast in that role. Now, here is where things improve. After I gave notice to my landlord that I wouldn't be renewing the lease, he asked if I was planning on staying in the area, and I said yes. I've been hunting non-stop online. Spare room mostly, though it's a bloodbath, but nothing quite felt right. A few days after my last post, I was reading through the comments, which again, thank you for. You Redditors are wiser than most real-life advice I've had, and a few people suggested that I ask the landlord if there were any other units available in the same building. I hadn't even thought of that, to be honest. I assumed everything around here was taken, but I figured I had nothing to lose by asking. So I emailed him just casually, saying that before I committed to moving out of the building entirely, I wanted to check if there were any other units becoming available at around the same time. He replied the next day, saying that one of the flats just upstairs, literally 1 floor above us, was going to be vacant from mid-July. Same layout, same rent, same everything, but slightly newer kitchen fittings and a nicer view. Less bin alley and more rooftops. He even offered me a first viewing since I was a current tenant and had always paid rent on time. I was honestly stunned. Same building, same landlord, same floor plan, and no drama roommates. Sign me up. I viewed the new unit last week. It's still a 2-bedroom, which works perfectly because my friend 23 female, who I've known since 6th form, and who's been looking to move out of her current house share, is looking to move around the same time. We had a little catch-up to talk about it, and realized our timelines lined up almost perfectly. She came to view it with me the second time around, and loved it. We signed the lease together this past Wednesday, and we officially get the keys on July 17th. Now here is the cherry on top. My current roommate isn't renewing her lease either. Apparently, after all the landlord stuff happened, she decided that she doesn't want to stay in the building anymore. I'm guessing she doesn't want to be under the same roof as me, or the landlord, who now knows about her boyfriend's extended stays. She mentioned in passing, very passive-aggressively, that she's moving somewhere with fewer rules. Whatever that means. Oh my god, they're gonna move into an alleyway together. How romantic. So as it stands, she's moving out, I'm moving into a new unit 1 floor up, and we will no longer be flatmates. I haven't told her where I'm moving yet. I didn't lie, but I also didn't feel like I owed her an explanation, you know? When she asked if I'd found anywhere yet, I just said that I've sorted it with the landlord and left it at that. If she finds out I'm literally upstairs, that would be slightly awkward. Just to paint a realistic picture for anyone reading who's UK-based or curious, here's how the process is going down. I formally gave my 30-day notice in writing to the landlord as soon as I decided not to renew. He accepted it and noted that my tenancy ends on July 31st. The landlord already knows me, obviously, and I've paid rent on time for over a year, so getting the new lease was smooth. No agency faff this time, which I'm so grateful for. It was just a standard credit check and ID confirmation. Because it's the same landlord and he uses a registered deposit scheme, he's allowing the deposit from this unit to be rolled over into the new flat, pending an inspection of this one. So if I leave this place in good condition, I won't have to cough up another full deposit, which is a lifesaver. We're getting the keys to the new flat on July 17th, even though this lease ends on the 31st. That gives me 2 full weeks of overlap to move gradually, clean, and avoid a stress meltdown. My dad even offered to drive up with his car to help with the heavier stuff. He's a hero for that. My friend's lease ends at around the same time, so we'll be moving in together over the same weekend. I've already sorted my council tax and utilities with the landlord. He'll notify the local council, and we just need to set up the new water, electric, and internet accounts from the 17th. We'll split it 50-50, just like I always hoped I could. Honestly, I feel so thankful, knowing that I won't have to be in a flat where I'm constantly tiptoeing around a very moody roommate, and her, as you say, hobosexual boyfriend is such a relief. I'm very excited to decorate a new space and set new boundaries from day one. Me and my friend already talked openly about how we want to divide shared costs. Groceries will be our own, cleaning rota, guests can stay but within reason, etc. And it feels normal. I could actually cry at the idea of normal. So now I'm prepping for the move, starting to box up non-essentials, deep cleaning little bits each day, and honestly enjoying the idea of creating a new space from scratch. I've started making Pinterest boards for our new living room and my bedroom. I'll probably do a little post-move update once we're in and settled. Thank you to every single person who read, commented, DM'd, or just rooted for me in the background. I owe you all a virtual hug. And I want to hug OP for providing such amazing content with this one. What a saga. What a journey. I'm throwing my hands up in the air right now, screaming at the sky. Cinema. That was cinema. Absolute cinema. I just love how delusional and sad the roommate was to come at her drunk like that and say, "This is your fault. This is all your fault. You caused this. None of this is my fault for enabling him. It can't be my trash heap little trash panda boyfriend. He's perfect. You leave him alone, my little manipulator. My little manipulative, narcissistic, mentally ill, hobosexual boyfriend. He's perfect. Let him keep using your razors and deodorants. He prefers yours over mine. He's got a weird kink for you. Oh yes, of course. Let me roll over and take it. Oh, powerful mystical roommate. You are normal and to be trusted. You are not a delusional weirdo at all. Absolutely not. I will trust you with the keys to this city, actually. Oh my god. I'm glad it's over. I don't think I need to wait for the next update. The roommate isn't involved anymore. I'm gonna say that this story is settled, alright? I'm happy, you're happy. That's where we're gonna end this one. Thank you for the story, OP. Am I the asshole here for not wanting my boyfriend to come over anymore because he's too much of a clean freak? So, I lied to my boyfriend and told him that I'd be out of town this weekend just so he wouldn't come over. I feel bad, but I honestly needed a break. I'm starting to get really fed up with how obsessive he is about cleanliness. For context, I have 2 cats. I vacuum 2 to 3 times a day just to keep the fur under control, and I try my best to keep things clean. But you know how it is. Sometimes fur still floats around or lands in spots that you miss. The issue is, he'll notice a single strand of cat fur and act like it's the end of the world. There were times that he literally woke me up in the middle of the night to complain about one piece of fur floating in the air. I'd say that I'll vacuum in the morning, but he keeps poking me until I get up and do it right then and there. He also hates when my cats go into the room, so whenever he visits, I have to keep them out, which feels unfair because it's their home too. He wears black all the time despite me suggesting not to, so obviously fur sticks to him more. And then he complains right in front of me like it's my fault. Out of frustration, I cancelled our weekend plans just so I could have some peace and quiet. He's been staying over every weekend lately, And honestly, I don't feel at ease in my own space anymore. I don't know, I feel kind of shallow and petty, and maybe I'm being unreasonable. Am I the asshole here for needing space and not wanting him around because of this? In the comments, Rob Zagnut says, "Tell him, cats have fur. You're going to get cat fur on you if you come over. Stop your incessant whining and deal with it. Or if you can't, don't come over anymore. Your choice." Not the asshole, but I think this is a part of a bigger problem. He clearly has a problem with cats, and you have too. Seriously think about if you have a future. Jay Quest says, "Not the asshole. This is next level OCD. He's coming into your space, their space. I'd cut your losses and find someone who was a little less compulsive. Making me vacuum in the middle of the night because of one cat hair would have been it for me. Even if it's not intentional, that's now abuse." Yep, often starts off with a ridiculous request to see how far she can be pushed into behaving the way that he wants. If that is the reality of the situation, then what are we supposed to tell OP here? I'm of the belief that this OCD behavior will, unintentionally, ramp up into abusive behavior. I can very much see that being realistic here. The question, am I the asshole here for not wanting my boyfriend to come over anymore because he's too much of a clean freak? No, I don't think you're an asshole at all for that. If he can't peacefully exist in your home every weekend, and he starts making outrageous demands of you and forcing you to vacuum at midnight, I think that's unreasonable. I think it'd be better if you guys just spent time at his house instead. Then he has nothing to complain about because there's no cats there. But then you would be also expected to ensure that every single strand of cat fur is kept off of your clothes going to his house as well, which to me would be another insane request. So I'm not one to advocate for breaking up specifically because of this, but I am one to advocate for questioning the long-term compatibility that you two have, and taking into account that dating is a process of selection. If you recognize that this is a potential deal breaker down the line, I don't think that you guys could peacefully cohabitate, given that you probably want cats and he's completely against it. It's silly, but that's how these things work. Not the asshole. And now, on to the update. Hello. I just wanted to share an update because things took a turn that I honestly didn't see coming. So, after I lied and told him that I'd be out of town, he got suspicious and showed up at my place on Saturday. I wasn't expecting him, though. I was literally in my pajamas, curled up on the couch with my cats, enjoying a peaceful day. He knocked, and before I could even process what was happening, he was inside complaining about all the fur everywhere. I asked him to leave, but he kept on ranting about how disgusting it was. And then my oldest cat, who's super friendly but sheds a lot, jumped up on the couch next to him. He freaked out, stood up, and shoved my cat off the couch. My poor cat hit the floor and ran under the bed. He's okay now. I completely lost it. That was the final straw. I told him to get out and that we were done for good. He tried to apologize and say that it was an accident, but I didn't care. If you can't respect my cats, you can't be in my life. I honestly feel so much relief right now. I can breathe again in my own home without feeling like I live in a museum. My cats are back to lounging wherever they please, as they should. So yeah, I guess I have my answer now. Thank you for letting me vent here, and thanks for those who commented on my last post. So much appreciated. In the comments, Fancy Complaint says, "I said this to you in your last post too. You are going to be so happy with your next boyfriend cuddling all together with your cats. I'm glad you took the trash out." OP says, "Aw, thank you. Honestly, I'm already happier just having my cats back on the couch with me. Next time I'm picking someone who brings treats for them, not complaints." That's good, I like that. "I'm glad you got rid of the guy who wasn't nice to your cats because you're not the asshole. He didn't just not respect your cats, he didn't respect you. You told him that you were unavailable that weekend, but he came over anyway. You shouldn't have lied to spend a weekend alone in your apartment, and then he's inside the apartment and he's sitting on your sofa, even though you were clear that you didn't want to spend the weekend with him. OP says, seriously, it's kinda scary realizing how normal I thought that was at the time. Twisted Thistle says, my original thought was, why did he come over and just walk in when you said you weren't available? What did he plan to do? That is very strange behavior. Showing up at your house uninvited to check on you is a lot more concerning than not liking cats and being a clean freak. This was such a hard read at first, but I'm so glad you stood up for yourself and your cats. Anyone who can't respect your space, and especially a furry family member, doesn't deserve a place in it. You didn't lose a boyfriend, you gained peace, and more uninterrupted cat cuddles. Sending you and your fur babies all the love. Yeah, it seems crazy to me that a common thread in these contentious relationships is that the person writing the story is always incredibly anxious and incredibly upset about not having their privacy respected by their partner, and that the mere thought of spending time in a space with them makes them incredibly upset. We gotta love some pattern recognition. But obviously, it's not always the case that the partner is abusive. Sometimes you're just going through something and you need that alone time. Unfortunately, the mask kind of slipped with this guy, and he didn't respect OP's privacy. Yeah, I tend to agree with the comments. That's a much bigger issue that OP did normalize, that we need to stamp that shit out. You know, like, if she wasn't at the house and he just invited himself in like that, what did he plan to do? We can only catastrophize here. We can only assume the worst of him because he already said he didn't like the cats. Yes, we don't have to catastrophize, but I want to. I tend to believe that since he was physically violent with the cat in that situation, he'd be comfortable doing something about the cats while she is not home, while she is none the wiser. He already showed that he is capable of physical violence at a whim just because he's uncomfortable with these cats existing next to him. Just in front of her face like that. He just assaulted the cat right in front of her. What the hell is he capable of doing behind closed doors when no one's watching? I'm so glad OP just slammed the door in his face in an instant. She was wise enough not to normalize that behavior. Thank you for doing that, and still not the asshole, OP. Good luck finding someone that deserves you, because I think you deserve someone that does. Our next post is by user Odd Candy, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for naming my daughter a verb? I, 31, have 2 sons, Jesse, 4, and Lucas, 3. And just had my 3rd child a few days ago, and it's a girl. And she's a girl, let's stop calling babies it. I love all of my children equally, but we've always wanted a daughter, so we decided to choose a meaningful name for her. Some names we've considered were Amara, Esme, Celine, and Rosalie. But we wanted something more unique, so I suggested Embrace, because I think it's a lovely name and also unique because it would convey that our daughter's both loving and open to change. My husband loved the idea, and we settled on naming our baby girl Embrace. And when you have twins, you're going to name them Romeo and Juliet. That's a good idea as well. Yesterday, I went over to my parents' place so they could meet her for the first time. My older sister and younger brothers, 30 and 25, were also there. And my sister asked if I had decided on what to name her. Me and my husband told them that we were going to name her Embrace, and my sister burst out laughing. She said that my daughter's going to be bullied and her name's going to be punned the hell out of if I name her a verb. But I argued that it has a beautiful meaning and is more unique than a lot of names that convey similar meaning. One of my brothers, 30, and Dad said that my sister had a point. My youngest brother said that he didn't want any involvement in this conflict, and my mum told my sister not to be so negative and defended my decision. This resulted in a huge argument, and I ended up leaving with my husband in tears. I asked a few close friends for their opinions, and some say that both sides are understandable, while others are telling me that my sister is right and the name won't age well. So Reddit, am I the asshole for naming my daughter a verb? In the comments, Humble Meerkat says, Why would you do that to your child? Do you want her to grow up to be a stripper or something? Because I'm sorry, that is absolutely a stripper/exotic dancer codename, dude. OP replies, I respect opinions of the other commenters, even if they called the name cringe, said they laughed, or called the name stupid, but I honestly find your comment distasteful. You could have said you're the asshole and that's a stupid name or something, rather than going straight to the level of strippers and exotic dancers. I'm not trying to sound oversensitive or start an argument, but you're honestly very disrespectful and should relearn manners. Christ. OP being unable to take constructive criticism. I love that for them. Humble Meerkat replies, I'm sorry, but I literally went to a strip club in Vegas for a bachelorette party once, and the dancers were Bubbles, Diamond, and Embrace. The strip club Powerpuff Girls. I will certainly work on the delivery in the future. A lot of these are AI fake posts too, so I honestly didn't think anyone would really name their kid this. OP replies, oh, well, I apologize for being a bit too upset about that. If you actually met a stripper named Embrace, then I can see where it's coming from. My bad. Honestly, that's actually making me low-key reconsider the name. That is making you low-key reconsider? It took all of this just for someone to say, wow, maybe it's a stripper's name. Oh my god, OP, you are dense. I can't. Speckle Fried Pickle says, you can name your child anything you'd like. That doesn't mean you should. Think about teenage boys and girls named Embrace. That should give you plenty of reasons not to do this to her. I'm all in favor of you do you, but this is a bridge too far. Maybe translate it into an obscure language. You would be the asshole if you go through with this. OP says, thank you for presenting it from that point of view. I'm actually thinking it over from that perspective. Whereas Wolf says, you're the asshole. Listen, it is a beautiful word, but not as a name. And what's even worse is that husband and I always wanted a girl, so when we finally got a daughter, we wanted to name her something meaningful. Have you any idea what a slap in the face that is for your sons? You're basically saying that the boys don't really matter. Their names don't matter. You finally got the child you wanted, so now you're going to actually care for the child you want, not the wrong gender. You're a huge piece of shit. Me when I project? OP replies, thank you for sharing your opinion. I honestly didn't think of it that way when I wrote that part, but to clarify, when I said we've always wanted a daughter, I mean that we wanted both genders. Even if we ended up having a boy this time around, we'd be just as delighted. I understand how what I wrote comes off that way, but believe me, we put just as much thought into our sons' names and love them more than anything. Hope that clears up the misunderstanding. Insane Reddit commenters be like, oh, you said X, so obviously you mean A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. God, you are literally worse than pond scum, you know that? You literally said that you want your son to die. That's what you meant when you said that, you piece of shit. I hate you, and I hope you die in a fire, because your sons deserved better. They deserve better than just you wanting a girl, you disgusting, vile woman. Damn, people really have some issues in these comments. Where did that come from? I'm gonna commend OP for coming to an unbiased third party after exhausting all of the options in their family and personal circles. It really does seem like they are looking for proper feedback, because I'm gonna guess some of those people didn't really give actual constructive feedback and they were holding themselves back so as not to cause offense. That's genuinely why I feel like OP came to Reddit, because look, people don't know OP. That's the objective third-party opinion being like, you're a fucking idiot, mate. What is wrong with you? It really, to me, sounds like no one in OP's life gave her that reality slap that she needed. Or they did and she just ignored it, who knows? But it's so surprising that it took someone being like, no, I literally met a stripper named Embrace. This is a stripper name. And they're like, oh, this changes everything. What the fuck? What? I just don't understand why some people, like, it takes them so long and so many different examples to find the one that clicks in their head after being told no so many times. Man, I didn't know that getting shot is so painful until I met an army veteran who was shot. My whole perspective has been changed. Wow. I've met my fair share of questionable names in my life, but I'll never forget, in primary school, a girl named Energy. I just thought that was an insane name, even at that time. She was bullied so hard for being named Energy. Embrace, for sure, would get absolutely destroyed in the playground and in the classroom. No doubt about it. Do we really just forget what primary school and high school were like when we get to 20 and 30 years old? Come on. And now, on to the update. So 2 weeks ago, I made a post asking if I was the asshole for wanting to name my newborn daughter Embrace, a name implying love, because my sister, father, one of my brothers, and a few close friends said that the name could be embarrassing for my daughter in the future and wasn't a good idea. I discussed things with my husband a few days ago and showed him the post and the comments, and we both agreed that it might not be a good idea to name her something so unusual. Some of the "you're the asshole" comments were harsh, but I needed the reality check. Thanks. After that, I arranged to meet with my sister the next day, and we both apologized to each other for the argument. Anyways, after some discussion and advice from my immediate family and some friends, we decided to name our baby girl Amara instead. Everyone seems to love the name, including us, of course, so that's good, and we are set on Amara. But if we decided to choose something else, we still have until August, because my daughter was born on June 13th, and our country gives you 60 days to register the baby after its birth. Thank you to everyone who provided their help by reading my original post and commenting their opinion. It was great help. In the comments, Shine Like an Emerald says, Amara is a beautiful name. In my language, Amara or Amala means grace. It's actually my middle name. Not the asshole. It's better than being named after a dog food brand like someone I know. The poor kid is gonna get the stuffing beat out of him when he goes to school. Well, what's wrong with naming a kid Schmacko? What? When naming a child, always consider if their name would be appropriate for a Supreme Court judge, a governor, a college professor, heck, even a dentist. Why not give them a name that is dignified enough for anything they might want to become? They'll spend many more years as a working adult than as a cute baby. And remember, I'm a person too says, Amara is lovely. Although I have to say, I don't think the problem with Embrace was that it's too unique. The problem is that we live in a very misogynistic world, and that name is too easy to sexualize. It would be a lovely name if society wasn't so sick, but women and even little girls have to deal with a lot of disgusting bullshit already. And a name like that would probably, unfortunately, bring a lot more of it. Same with names like Honey or Cherry. They're cute and sweet, and it sucks that they'll make life hell for any woman trying to navigate professional situations. Just like the name Predator would be absolutely sick if it weren't tied to such insane connotations. Damn, look at that guy. He's a freak. He's such a predator. Oh, wait up. Hold up. But yeah, no, I agree with that. It is, kind of a pretty misogynistic world that we live in, absolutely. And we can't have nice things. I think Embrace, as a concept, it's sick. I do genuinely like that. But you're going to destroy that child's soul when you put them through the meat churner that is life. Life is unfortunately very hostile to out-of-the-box names like that. Life is very hostile to many things, and when you have kids, I think you got to put their mental and physical health at the top of the priority list, and that unfortunately means that their needs go above your wants. Even if your wants, in my opinion, aren't even that bad, but your wants will destroy their needs. That's kind of how I'm viewing the situation here. Regardless, I think that Amara is lovely as well. It's a great little name. I wish nothing but the best for you and your child. I hope you guys have a lovely future that doesn't involve your kid getting bullied for their name. If you have twins, do take my name suggestion, because that was a sick one. As always, thank you for the story. Am I the asshole for inviting my dad's girlfriend over my real mum to spend the day with me? My 17 female parents got divorced 6 years ago. My mum quickly remarried, and my dad has been seeing his new girlfriend for nearly 2 years now. I now live at my mum's house for 2 weeks, then switch over to my dad's house for the next 2 weeks. My relationship with my mum has always been difficult. I always felt like my mum wished for a more girly daughter, so we could do classic mother-daughter activities together, but I'm simply not that person that my mum wants me to be. I've always been more tomboyish and been into sports, especially tennis since I was a little girl. Something my mum never truly understood or made an effort to be interested in. As a result, my mum and I never had the close mother-daughter relationship I feel like my mum wished for us to have. Now, my relationship with my dad has been the polar opposite. My dad and I always got along great, and I've always been a daddy's girl. But when my dad introduced me to his new girlfriend Julia, I instantly disliked her. My younger self thought that she was stealing my dad from me. Her being relatively young, 27 when they began dating, and a vapid pretty girl, which was how I unfairly stereotyped her at first, certainly didn't make me like her either. But my younger me misjudged her, and she's honestly pretty great. She always supported me, showed an interest in my passions, showed up to my tennis matches, something my mum didn't bother to do, and has been a great person all around. I'm now ashamed to admit this, but I didn't recognize this until around 3 months ago and had been acting pretty horrible towards her before that. The problem. The second last weekend, I had a tennis tournament where I got second place. For the second place, I won a spa day for me and a guest. I decided to invite Julia, my dad's girlfriend, to thank her for supporting me and for dealing with my horrible behavior. You won't believe how happy she was when I invited her, but when I returned to my mum's place on Sunday evening, my mum kind of assumed that I would invite her as my guest for the spa day. She seemed to really look forward to it. When I awkwardly told her that I already invited Julia, she was disappointed and sad. And since then, she's acted downcast and moody, and we haven't really talked. I tried to explain the situation to her, but she won't listen. Now I feel horrible. I feel like I really hurt my mum, and I feel like I chose Julia over her. Am I the asshole for inviting my dad's girlfriend over my mum to spend the day with me? In the comments, no assholes here. But I can definitely see how this would have hurt your mother. You say that she likes girly things, and here's a girly thing, but you didn't want to share it with her. Sit down with your mum, tell her you noticed she's hurt, and you didn't intend that. You feel awful, and explain that you invited Julia as an apology of sorts to make up for being so awful to her for so long. Then let your mum know that you would really love to share a special mother-daughter spa day just with her. OP replies, I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. To my mum, it probably feels like Julia and I robbed her of the exact type of mother-daughter experience she always wanted. Info. Did your mum come to watch you at the tournament? Or did she just hear about your prize and expect to benefit from it even though she wasn't there? OP says, my mum didn't come to watch me play. Wait, how did your mum know about this to be making assumptions about it before you said anything? You said she didn't go to your matches. Wouldn't she have needed to be there to hear the announcement? And OP says, my dad texted her and told her that I got second place and won a spa day for 2 people. He didn't know at that point in time that I was planning on inviting Julia. No assholes here. It was certainly your choice to invite whoever you wanted. It's unfortunate that this major olive branch to Julia hurt your mother. I understand why your mum would be sad, but hopefully you'll both be able to move past it. It could be a good opportunity for a deeper conversation about how much you appreciate her and wish you shared more common interests, or that she would take more of an interest in your activities and passions. Congratulations on placing in the tourney. Her mother, though, is an asshole. She was never supportive of OP's tournaments, wouldn't even show up, and now is sulky because even if she wasn't there, she wants to go to the spa? No, not the asshole. She doesn't even show up to your tennis tournament and is sad you didn't invite her to the spa that you won at the match? My mum also wouldn't bother to show up to my sporting events. It hurt. As an adult, I've taken her to the spa and paid for it, and she won free gift certificates after and said she would take me. She let them expire and never brought it up again. I finally asked what happened, and she admitted that she let them expire and didn't want to talk about it. So I have to go with the people that actually care and make an effort that should feel appreciated. Your mum didn't make an effort and expected you to treat her. That's not fair of her to expect. I guess I can chime in with personal experience for this one. As someone who as those who have been around since I did that video in 2020 talking about, oh, now I gotta put my face on the videos. I did Irish dancing for most of my life. And my dad never came to any of the Irish dancing tournaments. So if my dad were to be asking something of me in this instance when he never showed up, I'd be pissed off. I'd say no. Things I get from these tournaments that are bonuses for placing, you don't get to reap the benefit off of because you never showed up, you never came to support me. You don't deserve that. So no, you're not the asshole for inviting your dad's girlfriend over your real mum to spend the day with you. She's an asshole for not showing up. That is incredibly unsupportive. She doesn't deserve to come with you to the spa day, and she has some real nerve even asking, if you ask me. And now, onto the update. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to read and reply to my post. I've read every response, and I appreciate all the input. I've been putting off talking to my mum until Sunday a week ago when I finally found a good opportunity to talk to her. I told my mum that I love her, that I didn't intend to hurt her by inviting Julia, and that I feel terrible for hurting her. I also explained to her why I invited Julia. This time she seemed to listen and reassured her that me inviting Julia doesn't mean that we can't have our own spa day or that I chose Julia over her because she's still my mum and I will always love her. Then I showed her the websites of some spa places that I'd looked up beforehand and offered to pay for part of the costs. I know some people advised me against it, but I think it's a small but important gesture to show my mum how much she means to me. My mum seemed really excited to go to one of them with me and said I wouldn't have to pay a cent. Then came the hard part for me. I told my mum that I feel like she never supported me and my interests, and it hurts me that she can't even be bothered to show up to my tennis matches. I also expressed my feelings that I always felt like she wished for a more girly daughter and how this hurt me. At first, my mum got pretty defensive. She tried to deny it, but I was adamant, and in the end, she saw how important this was for me. She apologized and promised to improve. Later at dinner, my mum asked me if I would like to go to a nearby climbing park with her and my stepdad in the future. I instantly agreed and was so happy, because going to a climbing park isn't something my mum would normally suggest. I feel like it means she genuinely listened to me and is trying to truly improve our relationship. It's been a week now since I talked to my mum, and I'm in good spirits as I hoped our relationship would improve. I'm also hopeful that we find our own mother-daughter thing in the future. Thanks again, Reddit, for your input. In the comments, quote, I feel like it means she genuinely listened to me and is trying to improve our relationship. It really sounds like it. It seems your mum is showing you that she meant her apology. She made a promise to try, and now is acting on that promise. Good on you for approaching her and even having a suggestion ready and standing firm. It's natural she got defensive at first, but her dropping it not only shows that she acknowledged this was important to you, but showed a part of her humility. She realized she had done something wrong, and then her words, and later actions, that followed reflect on how she does want to work on your relationship. Her relationship with her daughter is more important than her being right or sticking to any image, which is such a nice break to read compared to what's normally around Reddit with parental relationships. Healthy communication for the win, people. The only way to end it is to go through it. Your comment is spot on. Opie had to sit through her mum being defensive and hold her ground to get her point across. Healthy communication isn't easy, but it's worth it. Exactly. Many things are tough, but worth it. I give props to OP for sticking with her point, and her mum for realizing that active change is more important than defending her past actions. It sucks, and is hard, to realize you are not perfect, and how you've been doing things for years has negatively been affecting someone you love. The fact that by dinner, OP's mum had already taken action to improve things going forward, that's what a good person/mum should do. She didn't dwell on the discussion or go into a woe is me stance, but immediately took action in a manner which would be meaningful to OP, and a positive step in their relationship consequently. Maybe I've been on Reddit too much today and read too many negative stories, but this really did give me a yay, faith in humanity feels. Narrat Teg says, "It's great to hear that your mum seems to have really taken to heart that your interests differ from hers, and she's willing to do things she doesn't necessarily have much interest in order to spend time with you. Just remember that it's a two-way street, and that it would mean a lot to her if occasionally you also did something more in her wheelhouse, such as the spa thing. Doesn't have to be all the time, but it would be a great gift idea for Mother's Day, her birthday, Christmas, etc." I agree with that and recognize that a lot of people do have parents with the capacity to change on a whim like that, and while it's not always focused on these subreddits, they do exist. They are not magical unicorns that are not part of our reality, as much as some of us would like to believe, Or not like to believe, but do believe. I'm glad Reddit was able to genuinely help OP out, and not just dogpile on her, like some of these other stories that I've read this week have. Some going on with people in Reddit, It's so great when the majority of comments are positive and productive. So thank you to those people for giving OP the benefit of the doubt that she's not a horrible witch, and that her mother isn't a horrible witch also, and that these are just complex people that are facing a difficult situation in which miscommunication has been had, and positive communication, working through those defensive barriers that the mum put up, was the way to go. It's not always easy, and you do have to trust that the person you're trying to work with is going to work with you in good faith, like the mother did here. Because I imagine there's a lot of parents out there where you try this tactic and it just backfires in your face and they just double down. We've heard way too many of those, and that's why a lot of people advocate for the "why are you even bothering? Just cut them off and move on with your life." Obviously, that's not always a good advice either. All that to say, thank you for the story, OP. I'm glad everything worked out. Our next post is by user Chemical Seesaw, and it's titled, "Am I overreacting if I break up with my fiancé over a name change?" A few weeks ago, my fiancé, 27 female, and I, 28 male, were talking about our wedding, which is scheduled for June of next year, and our honeymoon. At one point, I jokingly said something to the effect of, "We'll see about that, future Mrs. My last name," and she visibly cringed. She told me she isn't going to be Mrs. My last name, and I said, "Okay then, I'll be Mr. Her last name, because I really don't care if she takes my name or I take hers. I just want to share one." She said, "No, I'm keeping my name and you can keep yours." I asked who our future kids would be named after, and she said her because she's the mother, so I'd be the odd one out. Edit to add, I should have clarified this, but she's also opposed to hyphenating. She's adamant that we should each keep our own last names, and any future kids will only have hers. For context, I grew up in foster care after both my parents died. I didn't have any other biological family, so I was bounced around from home to home from the ages of 5 to 18 when I aged out. I never felt welcome in any of those other foster homes, and never felt like I had a real family. I always swore that I'd have a real family one day though, so naturally, I want to share a last name with my wife and our kids. I truly don't care what name. Mine, hers, a new one we both chose, it doesn't matter to me. I just want a real family that I feel connected to. We've been dating for 3 years and engaged for almost 5 months, and this is the first time she said she doesn't want to share a name. Previously, she never said anything when I called her the future Mrs. My last name, so either this is new or she's been holding it in. I've tried to talk to her about why she doesn't want either of us to change our last name, but she doesn't want to discuss it further, and I'm at a loss as to what to do. Would it be an overreaction to break up over this, since she won't talk to me about her reasons? She's acting like everything is normal, so I don't know what to think. In the comments, why is she so opposed to it? Has she said? It's something very important to you. Is it important enough that it could end a relationship that would otherwise be headed to marriage? I don't think you're overreacting at all. Your feelings are completely valid. She may not want to talk about it anymore, but she's going to have to if she wants the relationship to work. In the end, only you know what your deal breakers are. OP replies, "She won't tell me." When I ask, she says she won't discuss it further and stops speaking until I change the subject. That's the opposite of what healthy communication looks like. Jesus Christ. Greydog asks, "What did that interaction look like the last time it happened?" OP says, "She said she didn't want to discuss it and walked away." Miroku says, "This is more concerning than the original problem. She can choose not to take your name, but she can't unilaterally choose to tell you that you can't take her name, and she can't unilaterally decide about the kids either. The next time she walks away, ask her to set a time when she will be ready to talk about it. If she's unwilling to do so, then start playing the same game about any wedding planning. Tell her that you don't want to set a date until you resolve the issue with you being excluded from the family." Balcony Herb says, "Tell her that you'd like to change your name and why. She may not realize the reason for it and may be projecting her desire to maintain her name on you. If she can't hear you and understand how hurt you are, I'd be second-guessing too. Since you aren't imposing a change on her, it's worth a discussion." And OP says, "She knows why. She knows all about my past." Interesting asks, "Does she know why because she knows your past? Or does she know why because you've explicitly spelled it out to her? Some people don't connect dots well." And OP says, "I've told her very clearly why I want this, and up until recently she seemed to understand." Back up to the post, there's an edit. "This post got a lot more comments than I expected. Thank you to all who replied or sent PMs, except those who called me a misogynist for even suggesting that she change her name. I've decided to try to have one more serious conversation with her about my feelings on the subject. I've packed a box with all the things that she's left in my house, so if it doesn't go well, I'll return her belongings and end things. We're meeting at a park, and I have a good friend who is going to stay nearby, but unseen, just in case things go south. If for no other reason than to have a witness that I tried everything I could to talk things out." Okay guys, excuse my French, but she's fucked up for doing that. Oh my god, how fucking heartless can you be? Oh yeah, let me pour out my insecurities to you about the fact that I am an orphan. I feel like I have no place in this world, no family. I feel alone and entrapped. And what do? You say, "No, actually, I'm not taking your name. You won't be taking my name. And the kids are going to both have my names. And you've told me as well that this is a point of insecurity for you in that, you want to belong to this family. How about I do everything to not have you be a part of this family and also just shut you down every time and not give you a reason why? Let me just ice you out, make you feel even more isolated." No. I'm fucked up from this. Sorry, but get rid of her. That is so cold. That is so incredibly heartless. I would like to imagine that I'm not being delusional right now, or I'm not projecting or anything, but I put myself in your shoes, OP, and I can imagine how incredibly hurtful something like that is. This feels like an insane betrayal, and even if this meeting goes well with her, how can you trust someone like this again, knowing what all of your insecurities are and still driving that knife deep into your chest and hurting you because she can, seemingly, not giving you a reason, leaving you out in the cold, and not letting you feel a sense of belonging. It means a lot to you. The last name means so much to you, and it obviously means a lot to her as well. It doesn't make sense to marry someone and start a family with them, only to go hurting them as much as you are here. That's so not okay. That is so messed up. I hate her for that. Even if everything goes well after this, even if everything gets resolved, I don't like her one bit. And now onto the update. Here's an update to my post from yesterday. I'm still processing everything, so I may not reply to comments right away. We met up at a park today. I asked her late last night if she could meet me to talk about something, and she immediately agreed because it seems that she thought it was about the wedding. My friend was with me, but waited in my car so he wouldn't be spotted. But I did decide to turn on the voice recorder on my phone because in the past, she's manipulated her telling of certain situations to make it seem like she's blameless. I overlooked it before because I thought she was just used to getting her way, but now I realize that was a mistake on my part. Me when I ignore the red flags, okay. So I got there early and walked around for a few minutes before meeting up with her in a picnic area. I asked her to sit down with me because I needed to ask her some very important questions about our future. I told her that I needed answers, and I needed her to give me enough respect as a human to not walk away when I'm trying to talk. I started by explaining again how I've never felt like I was a part of a real family, not since I lost my parents anyway, and how important it is to me that I feel that connection to my wife and kids. It may seem like a small thing to most, but to me, it's huge. I've lived most of my life feeling like I'm completely alone. She told me she knows how hard my life has been, and now I have her, so I'm not alone anymore. And then I asked her if she could please explain to me exactly why she is so vehemently against us having the same last name, if she acknowledges that she knows how important it is to me that I share a name with my wife and kids, so I feel like I'm in a real family and not an outsider. I reminded her that I don't expect her to take my name, and I'm more than willing to take hers, hyphenate, or come up with something completely different. I just wanted to share a name with my wife and kids, so we are all one family unit. Her response to that was surprising. She rolled her eyes and told me it's so cringy when people have the same last name after they get married. That was her sole reason for not sharing a name. This just makes me hate her even more. There wasn't even a reason. I asked her to elaborate on that, and she went into a whole rant about how she thinks it's cheesy when she meets a couple and they introduce themselves as the blanks, and that it makes her want to throw up when she hears it, and so many other ways that it makes her angry. When I brought up the fact that her parents have the same last name because they're married, she said that's different, and that I wouldn't understand because of being an orphan, which really threw me. To hell with her. Send her to hell right now. I can't deal with this woman. She deserves the worst. Long story short, I let her know that I needed some time to myself to really think things over and decide how I want to move forward. I asked her to give me time, and I would let her know when I'm ready to talk. She didn't like hearing that, but I told her that I needed to leave. So now I'm at home thinking about everything and wondering how to move on. I know the relationship is over, but I haven't made the breakup official yet. It's going to hurt for a long time, but I know what I need to do for my own mental health. I can compromise on some things, but I can't be with someone who won't also compromise. Her belongings are still packed up, and my friend has offered to drop them off once I end things with her. Luckily, I live in a gated condo community, so once I take her name off the approved visitors list, she won't be able to come to my house. I know she won't react well when I tell her that we are over. That's all. I'm going to take some time for myself and try to get over everything. Ending an engagement is tough, and I don't wish this heartbreak on anyone. Thanks for the support from all you strangers out there. In the comments, TN Bell says, she seriously tried weaponizing the very reason that you want to have the same last name as your spouse and kids when trying to tell you why you wouldn't understand why her parents sharing a last name isn't cringy, but other couples are? Seriously? I'd say that she doesn't deserve a discussion for the breakup. Write a letter, put it in her box of crap, and have the friend leave it at her door. Unless the ring is an heirloom and you want it back, of course. In that case, make sure you get it away from the witch. And she still doesn't make sense anyway, because how are her parents, a married couple sharing the same last name, any different than any other married couple sharing the same last name? I'm sure if OP had pressed her to define how it's different for them, she would have come back with the airtight argument, it just is. OP should let them know apparently their daughter thinks that they are the only married people out there who aren't cringy for doing what most married couples do. There is literally no logic to her argument, just some odd sentimental pass for her parents, but no one else. She has no empathy for her fiancé whatsoever. Yeah, like I said, there was absolutely no reason and no backing for it. It just sounds like she hates her fiancé. That's truly it. She hates this man that she wants to be married to, and she enjoys manipulating him and seeing him suffer. She enjoys pressing his traumas. That has to be why she is the way she is. She is a sadistic and sick individual. Saying that, oh, the reason I don't like it is because it's cringy. So that's the sole reason that you're not allowed to take my last name, but the kids also have to have my names because it's cringy, and they're not allowed to have your last names because, it wouldn't be any different if I kept my last name and the kids had your last names, but no, you're not allowed to belong to this family because that's cringy. Oh my god, my blood is boiling. I don't want to deal with this woman, man. She sucks. And now onto the latest update. This will be the final update, I hope, to my relationship issue. A lot of people asked for a resolution, so I thought I'd give one to those interested. I went to work on Monday, and my boss could tell that I was depressed, so she asked me what was going on. I explained everything that I had on my mind and the conversation that I had to have over the weekend. She asked me if I wanted a distraction from everything and offered to have me accompany her and her husband, co-workers of the company that I work for, on a short trip to meet with some potential clients. I would be working on the project anyway, so she thought it might be good to have me in the meetings, especially if I needed to get out of town. So early Tuesday morning, the three of us left for the meetings. We were busy all afternoon and part of the evening, so I wasn't checking my personal cell. At 10 p.m., I saw that I had a lot of missed calls and texts from my fiancé. By a lot, I mean over 50 texts and 19 missed calls since that morning. It seems that she went to my condo, and when security wouldn't let her in, since I took her off the list of approved visitors, she flipped out. She started calling and texting me, and then she started trying to contact our mutual friends and her family, none of whom knew where I was either. Her last-ditch effort to get me to answer her was to threaten to call the police and say that she hadn't seen me in days and was worried that I was suicidal. And when I didn't answer right away, she went through with that plan. The police were allowed to enter the condo community, and when I didn't answer my door, they couldn't do anything else and left. This didn't please my fiancé, and she kept calling and texting. When I saw the calls and messages, I sent one text in a reply that only said, "I'm on a work trip until Thursday. Please respect my need for time to think about everything. We will talk when I get home." Then I ignored everything from her for the rest of the week while I was away. Fast forward to Thursday evening, we land back in the city and I drove home, wanting to get to bed and sleep in the next day since I was given the day off. I guess she was lurking nearby, because I was told later that she tried to follow me into the gate, but was stopped by security since she never scanned a parking pass. That's when she started blowing up my phone again. I texted back one more time to tell her to give me space and that we would talk later, and then showered and went to sleep. By Friday morning, I had 73 more text messages and 32 missed calls. At that point, I knew I just had to end things with her sooner rather than later so I could get some peace. Long story short, as of yesterday afternoon, I've ended the engagement. I took the same friend who was nearby last weekend, so I'd have a witness in case she did anything. She refuses to give the ring back because she thinks that I'll come to my senses soon, and she'll keep it until then. I don't even care. She can have it. Her friends and family started calling me within 15 minutes of me ending things. I've blocked them all, since they're being nasty to me and blaming me for it all. Judging by what they're saying, it seems like she made up a story about me having a mental health crisis and wanting to be alone. Again, I don't even care. My good friends were told what happened when my friend sent out a text with a brief explanation. I hope she leaves me alone so I can heal from everything over time. I'm just so emotionally exhausted. In the comments, Lincoln Hawk Calling says, "You've been more than reasonable with her on this issue. You even offered to take her name if she didn't want yours. You thoroughly explained why sharing a name was very important to you. She instead chose to ignore all of that and drew her line in the sand. I don't know what she was expecting. Honestly, it sounds like you dodged a bullet if you hadn't had this argument and went through with your plan for marriage. It appears she had very little, if any, respect or consideration for you. I'm glad you're free of her now and can finally have some peace. I think she loves having control and getting everything her own way far more than she ever loved OP. A lot of commenters were saying that she sounds unhinged. I agree, but I think it's more than just that. You've described before how she always has to have her way. I think the name issue was a power play on her part, because the cringe thing sounds like utter bullshit that she made up on the spot. And now you've broken it off with her, she lost the upper hand, and now she's pissed. You definitely haven't seen or heard the last of her. She's gonna get vindictive, and you'll probably need a restraining order. In retrospect, I'm always glad when the crazy ones reveal themselves over something tiny so that the sane ones can escape years of chaos. I expect there will be more crazy happening here though, and we'll get another update. Crazy indeed, because what she said and how she is behaving makes no sense. Seriously, how is sharing a last name, something that's been happening for centuries, cutesy and cringe? It's how people tell others that they're a family unit. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The minute that OP's fiancé said that he wouldn't understand because he's an orphan, I would have ended it. She knew how much he wanted to have a family that shared his last name and completely obliterated his dream because she thought that it was cringy. If she wants to keep her last name, that's fine. But if they're going to be in a relationship, there has to be some give and take. It's unfortunate that OP's now ex-fiancé chose to make up a story about his mental health issues rather than taking responsibility for her own actions. I hope OP finds someone who will treat him like he means something to them and is actually willing to be in a partnership. P.S. I thought it was funny that it was okay and not cringy for the fiancé's parents to have the same last name. She said that it was different, but it totally isn't. I'm running out of words for her, because I'm just going to be repeating the same thing again, that I hate her, I hope the worst for her, I hope she has the day that she deserves, because there was no logic in this. All she wanted was power, all she wanted was control over him, and she is an unhinged, crazy, ridiculous individual. All she wanted was to manipulate him, continue to play mental games with him, and never give him anything he wanted because she gets joy out of his suffering. That is so insanely cruel to do to someone. If OP had not had a backbone and had stayed with her, she would be giving him mental health issues with the amount of bullying and psychological damage she would have given him. I'm so glad that he has enough sense and enough support around him to realize how bad she is for him and get the hell out of Dodge. Everything he did was just chef's kiss. Please do not let her back in your life. If there is another update, please tell me that you've moved to the other side of the country and you're starting life again with someone that respects you. Thank you for the story, OP. I'm thinking of leaving my husband after 4 years of marriage. The title is exactly what it sounds like. I'm considering leaving my husband. He doesn't contribute to chores around the house and plays games for hours every day. I have to remind him to do basic things like shower, chores, etc. I've told him multiple times that I don't want to parent him, and he'll do better for a day or two and then go right back to it. He only has 2 chores, dishes and trash, and we have a dishwasher. The problem is that he's neglected them for so long that we now have a fruit fly infestation and have to call a pest control company to come deal with it. I know that I should have done something before it got this bad, but he kept reassuring me that it would get done. He's also incredibly impulsive and spends money he knows that we don't have. I'm between jobs at the moment and won't have any pay until July. I've also tried to communicate about this, but he shuts down when I try to talk to him about things that bother me. There's some other reasons, but these are the big ones. They've only recently become an issue in the last year or two. He's likely got undiagnosed ADHD. I can see the symptoms and know that these problems are an issue because of the ADHD. I also have ADHD and use coping strategies to deal with it. I have suggested coping strategies for him, but he says that it won't work and won't even try. Him shutting down when I try to communicate with him means that I can't talk to him. He refuses to talk to me until I bottle it all up and explode, which he claims reinforces him not talking to me. I've suggested marriage counseling, which he claims that we don't need. I do love him, a lot, but these problems are weighing me down so much that I feel depressed over it. I blew up again today, and I called him lazy and basically told him he wasn't allowed to play games until he finished his chores and the flies were taken care of, which makes me feel like I'm parenting him again. I don't want to leave him, but I'm not sure what else to do at this point. What do you guys suggest? In the comments, Anona Mouse says, having ADHD is not an excuse for this behavior. I have combined, but primarily inattentive ADHD, and I can't be medicated due to long QT syndrome, but I'm still accountable for my actions. I work hard every damn day to function. Am I exhausted? Yes. Do I feel like giving up some days? Yes. But I have a responsibility to keep shared space clean, tidy, and livable alongside my husband and child. The same for your husband. He too is accountable for his actions and has responsibilities. Snowybird says, thank you for this comment. Way too many people on Reddit are willing to excuse all sorts of shit because of ADD/ADHD. I have 2 adult sons. One is ADD and the other ADHD. Both have their own homes, one has a good paying job, and the other owns his own business. They both cook, clean, and do their own laundry. Wordsmithy says, he's not just lazy, he's self-indulgent and childish, and apparently he really doesn't care that his home is infested with fruit flies. Sounds like he's using ADHD as an excuse, especially since he won't try any of the coping mechanisms that you suggest. He just wants to sit and play games. I would leave him too. Find someone who wants to be a real partner. I mean, Jesus, not dealing with garbage until there's a fruit fly infestation? He can't get the trash out of your home because the game is so very important. How long does it take to take the garbage out? Adriel says, sadly, that's why men closer to 30 go for women 20 and under. They can fool you into thinking they're so mature and like you because you're so mature, when really it's just easier to fool you. They trap young women into being their caretaker and know that once you're married, you're less likely to leave. Fun Revolution says, I had a coworker who had a similar situation. At the time of the events, she was 24 female and ex-husband was 32 male. She was sick of it, and she was working 2 jobs and no days off while he was sat at home living like he's disabled when he's not. So, while attending college, she met a younger guy who she fell for and ditched her husband. I think, as the problem stands right now, he's definitely an asshole for using it as a crutch. I understand that situations that are unequitable like this get to these points, and you're okay with it until you're not okay with it. But I really don't understand how we're in our great Lord's year of 2025, and people are still okay with such unequal splits of chores in the house, and just, by the sounds of it, unequal splits of lifestyle. You were more than happy to take on, by the sounds of it, like 90% of the chores in the house, while I'm guessing there is a similar income split, and you guys both agreed to this, and it's been okay until, as I said, it's not okay now. I think we really just need to instill in people that it's okay to set these boundaries early and force your partner to meet those expectations, and have consequences for your partner not meeting those, not letting it kind of stagnate and snowball to this point. I think regardless of whether he has ADHD or not, he's an asshole for not meeting his end of the bargain and continually putting video games over everything else in your shared life together. That's not love. That is not the sign of a caring partner. That's the sign of someone using you as a bangmaid. So I don't think you're the asshole for that. And now, onto the update. So I guess things are going to go for the better. In my last post, I broke down some of my husband's behavior and how it's likely linked to undiagnosed ADHD. Several people suggested leaving him. Some things I left out of my last post that now seem relevant. I am disabled and often use a wheelchair or cane to manage my symptoms. I have a hard time bathing and dressing myself. I'm occasionally reliant on the help of others. Part of why he neglects himself and chores is because he works a full-time job and has to help me. These weren't issues until my health began to deteriorate. Some of his behavior is rooted in PTSD from a highly abusive relationship. I packed a suitcase and was getting ready to leave and stay with my family when my husband came home. He saw the suitcase, asked what was going on, and we had an actual conversation. No avoidance or shutting down. He apologized and said he understood and that he'd like a chance to fix things. He set alarms on his phone to remind himself to do chores, etc. He Googled ways to manage ADHD without medication and called his doctor to set up an appointment to talk about getting evaluated for ADHD and PTSD. He called our church to set up some marriage counseling, and he started cleaning without me asking. All things he hadn't done before, even when I begged. I think seeing the suitcase and realizing that I was really planning on leaving helped. Maybe I'm wrong and this is just his attempt before it gets worse again, but I think he's actually trying this time. Am I wrong to be hopeful here? Edit to add, I didn't add my disabled status to the first post for a few reasons. 1. I just don't like talking about it, as my disability is nobody's business. 2. He only helps me for about 15 or maybe 30 minutes a day, and they are low-effort tasks as well. And 3, I didn't think that I deserved less effort in a relationship because I'm disabled. Unfortunately, some of you seem to think I do deserve less. In the comments, Medicine Cap says, "The disabled part is huge and changes the entire story. My dad had to care for my mum and 4 kids under 18, and then all of us had to help care for my mum because she got early onset Parkinson's disease. Our house was a pit. Nobody has energy to go to work 40 hours a week or go to school for 30 hours a week and care for another person. All that any of us did, when things got really bad, was pray she would fall asleep so we could also sleep or watch TV. Caring for someone is a full-time job, and I'm not sure what country you live in, but most places make it so that in-home care and assisted living are beyond our reach. It's not a person's fault. It's society's fault for not being set up to support us. If he works at a job and is a caregiver, I'd cut him some slack." Individual Fox-like says, "You're repeatedly saying that he doesn't have to do that much as a caregiver, and I really think you need to stop saying that. A large part of caregiving is mental and emotional. I've been a caregiver for years, and it consumes a huge amount of thinking. Not just about now, but about later. Even if your disability isn't progressive, he's likely constantly thinking about what will happen if he gets injured or sick, or if you get a different problem on top of yours. Caregiving changes how you see the world, and it's a huge added stress. Everything you've written is incredibly dismissive of his side of caregiving, and if you continue on that track, you're likely to damage your relationship." Lone Wool 8 says, "So if he's struggling with unmedicated ADHD and PTSD, and full-time work, and caring for his disabled wife, don't you realize he was already really struggling, and now you put a whole load more stuff on his plate for him to crumble under? You have to ask, what does he get in return? Is there any enjoyment in his life, if all he has are these pressures? I read your post and feel that you got what you wanted, and he got even less than he had. I could be wrong, but that's how it seems to me. If you do decide to stay with him, you gotta make sure that it's also worth it for him. An equitable partnership." OP replies, "He gets home-cooked meals, dates, love, etc. I do 95% of the housework, and the few things that are his responsibility are things he decided would be his responsibility. He gets time to play games, as I'm not against them entirely. He spends time out with friends when he wants, basically doing whatever he wants to do. He gets a lot in return from our relationship. It's never 50-50. Some days are 80-20, but who's giving the 80 changes. I support him through whatever dreams and aspirations he has, which change almost daily. I have good and bad days, which means there are plenty of days that I don't seem disabled at all, and I don't need help. Assuming I'm the villain because I'm disabled and didn't feel like telling a bunch of strangers all about my medical issues is entitled and inherently ableist. Curious Penguin Socks replies, "Nobody is assuming that you're the villain because you are disabled. They feel that you were dishonest because you left out a major part of the story of your lives together. You came onto Reddit to ask for help, but left out crucial information and are being very defensive. Take a breath before answering a comment. It's okay to feel upset, but being defensive won't help. You've asked the hive mind of Reddit for help, but then hindered us helping you by not providing us all the facts. I live with chronic pain and mental health issues. I get it. We are often vilified for just existing. It can be hard. It's also very vulnerable to open up about these things. However, how can you expect to get good advice when you leave out such important information? That is why people are saying that they don't think you actually want help. Maybe sit with that for a bit. It's okay to be uncomfortable or upset at the comments, but being defensive will only leave you in the same miserable place that you are in now." Alternative Year says, "I expect him to go back to his normal within a couple of days. She may even get a couple of weeks. I'm on the super awesome argue about him not stepping up every 3 weeks plan. I highly recommend she upgrade." I was just gonna say this. He's going to go from lapsing in days to weeks and just draw out all this bullshit. I would have been pissed out of my mind if my guy just started doing the chores after a threat of leaving him. He didn't even do chores when she begged? Lady. I don't understand the interpersonal relationship dynamics of both of these people, but it does seem like they need to have a proper sit down together about this one to work out an equitable split of their chores. And I do think that it was wrong of her as well. I understand why she didn't, but I do think it was wrong of her not to mention the fact that she was disabled. Then also tell us that you have those 80-20 days, and there's some days that the disability does not need to be managed and that he doesn't have to take on the role of a caretaker as well. I don't think she has any right to be so upset at people when she left out such a huge detail that does change the dynamic, that does change the advice that people will give her. As it stands now, though, I agree with these last commenters. He's going to lapse. It's going to continue to happen. These two have not found a sustainable way to ensure this problem doesn't happen again. They will repeat this cycle over and over until the relationship breaks up or they are forced to an impasse in which a sustainable solution has to be implemented. That seems like the only way this goes. Good luck, OP. Thank you for the post. And I hope all goes well going into the future. Our next post is by user Major Perception, and it's titled, "Would I be the arsehole if I ask my employee if she's pregnant? I own a small cafe and only have one employee. She was recommended by a frequent customer, her husband, when I posted the listing. I interviewed multiple people, and she was not only the nicest one, but genuinely the best candidate. She'd been a stay-at-home mum for 11 years for 3 kids, and said that she felt that it was more important for her to be there with them than working, and I can't and don't fault her for that at all. She shows up, she works, she does everything, and more than I need her to do. I have 0 complaints about her as an employee. However, over the last 4 months, I've noticed some changes. Number 1, she is tiny, and when I say tiny, I mean that. This girl probably weighs 100 pounds soaking wet, and she's never worn tight-fitting shirts, but her shirts are starting to fit tighter only in the stomach area, and it doesn't take staring to notice. Number 2, she used to only take her food to go at the end of the day, but now she'll ask me to cook it earlier. Which is not an issue, she can ask whenever she wants, but she eats at least half of it immediately. She's never done that before, even if she got it before she left. Number 3, her husband has come in a few times, and also her father, and asked her things along the lines of how she's feeling, and I've overheard her talking about a doctor's appointment multiple times. Now, we live in a right-to-fire state, so after talking to my wife, I get why she might be worried to tell me in the case I might do so, but I don't want to, and I won't. But I'll admit I'd be a liar if I said I wasn't a bit worried that she'll have the baby and not come back to work when she's the only one there to help me out. So would I be an asshole or way out of line for asking her if she's having a baby? In the comments, Deleted says, yes, you're the asshole for sure. 1. She has every right to privacy and you have no right to ask. If she's choosing not to share, assuming there is anything to share in the first place, there may be good reason for it, medical or otherwise, or maybe she just doesn't feel that it's a necessary conversation to have with her employer because she's not required to do so. 2. I'm not going to assume anything about state employment laws where you are, but even if you follow them and can legally terminate her because you think she might be pregnant, you're the asshole. Also, you run a cafe, not a surgical team. Hire someone part-time so you feel more comfortable. Sheesh. OP replies, I do not intend to fire her at all. I just need to make arrangements for whatever amount of time she needs off, if she'd like to come back. We haven't been open even a year, and our space is limited. 3+ employees will be trampling on each other in our cooking area. Upbeat Bid says, you're the asshole. Right to fire equals right to quit. Did she sign a contract? Are you offering her benefits, health insurance, retirement? You fully admit that you could fire her for being pregnant if you wanted to, but somehow you're the victim because she might quit and you'd have to find another employee. It's a job at a cafe. It's none of your business if she's pregnant and she doesn't owe you anything. OP replies, I do not mean to imply that I'm a victim at all. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm concerned that not only could she be worried about it when it won't happen, but also that if she decides not to come back. My wife is the one who pointed out that she could be worried for that reason, and we're a small business. It's only the employee and I every day, so with it being only us, there are no benefits. However, anytime she needs to be off, she gets off, and I can usually find a family member who can help out for the day. But that's harder to do when it's all the time, which is my only worry. I will not fire her. She can work until she has the baby, if she's having one, and if she decides to stay home with that one as well, then that's fine, and it's up to her and her husband. But if I need to hire new help by a certain point, I would also like to know that too, because at this point, even the people that were helping out before can't help out like she does. So I'd like to have the time to train someone. It's just the two of us, so that would be helpful. Kirsty says, I would avoid the pregnancy question completely and have a conversation with her about how you totally understand if plans change as a mum and family comes first, blah blah blah. But then I would add in that you would kindly request, just so that you aren't totally on your own, that if she senses big changes ahead or a desire to return to family life, that she lets you know so many months or weeks in advance so you can make arrangements. If you bring up a pregnancy that she's been hiding from you, she might get defensive, or worse, she's not pregnant, just fat, or even worse, has cancer or something, and there is no recovering from that. I like that answer the best. I think people yelling at OP for their worries and their concerns for their small business are too close-minded on this issue. This to me feels like something that OP does need to address, but yeah, like that last comment is, in a more subtle way, in a more open way. Don't just ask them if they're pregnant, because yeah, there could be so many other things that are going on in their life that explains why her father and her partner come in and ask if she's okay, and there has been lifestyle changes. Who knows exactly what is going on, why this is all happening, but I do think that, yeah, you can ask the question in a more roundabout and open-ended fashion. You're not the asshole for that one. I don't know why people would think you are. They're just being very weird. And now, onto the update. She is pregnant. I did not ask her. Her husband told me and said that he's been telling her she needed to tell me, but she said she wasn't sure about how much time to ask off for, if I'd think she wasn't coming back, or if I'd need help and nobody else could help, because the job has become important to her, so she kept putting it off. He said her plan was to come back after 2 weeks, but he, and these are his words before anyone else comes for my head again, said that he wasn't going to let her at that point, which I fully understand. From there, I decided that I should save all the tips that would be hers and give them to her. So that's what I'm going to do, just so she's not completely out of pay, and she's honestly earned it. She is a truly great employee, and I'm happy for her and her husband and their family. In the comments, you acted like the boss that she desperately needed, and that's worth more than any policy or contract. Stay the course and support her openly, because loyalty is born when people feel seen and valued, and she will repay that tenfold when she returns. And OP replies, I honestly couldn't ask for a better employee than her. I'm glad she plans to come back when she's had the time she feels, or I guess her husband, according to what he said, feels she needs to come back to work. I love how in your original post you got downvoted for saying that she has her job guaranteed if she decides to come back. OP says, I know, I probably could have phrased my post better somehow, but it seemed like everybody missed that part. Java's Kitty asks, do you have a lot of regular customers who know her and will miss her? Maybe you could ask if she minds, once the baby is born, if you let people know why she's off work for a while, and perhaps have a dedicated tip jar for employees' new baby fund, so her regular customers can contribute if they like, or offer to share her registry link with the regulars. I second this. This is such a great idea. If I was a customer, I'd 100% chuck in a few extra tips if an employee that I saw often was having a baby. And OP replies, oh, they definitely will miss her. I won't be recognizing their voices on the phone immediately, or their phone numbers on the caller ID, or just knowing what they want to drink and having it ready without them specifying it, or any extra sauces they want without them telling me. This is a good idea. Thank you. Gibby Giblet says, so many people upset in the original thread with zero ability to read. Honestly, reading some of the You're the Asshole comments was frustrating because while the OP pointed out the state policy surrounding being let go, they also quite clearly said that they weren't going to fire her. They wanted to make sure they could secure her job if she wanted to keep it, while also having enough time to find a replacement to cover her time away. Yeah, there's a lot of people that lack reading comprehension in this world, unfortunately. Which, you know, you can attribute it to the fact that a lot of people that go and comment on Reddit posts are teenagers themselves as well, and they're still learning about the world, so they'll probably have a lot of assumptions loaded up in their head like a gun ready to fire, just like, bam, you said something I didn't like, I'm gonna say the most insane projecting statement of my life. But as it relates to reading comprehension as well, I've been seeing a lot online where people are asking, wait, don't audiobooks count as reading? And I personally don't think it does, and I think there's nothing wrong with listening to audiobooks and consuming that content. I know I do, very often. But I'm of the mind that it affects people's reading comprehension, not reading enough on a day-to-day basis. Reading is like a muscle you have to train if you want to keep it healthy. And maybe these people with their insane comments on Reddit are not trained well enough to read what the OP was putting out there. Who knows what's going on with that, but I'm very happy that the OP of that story was able to work something out with her. They were able to not have a huge blow-up like what could have potentially happened, where feelings would have been hurt and it would have gone south fast. Very much glad that the worst did not happen. Thank you for the story, OP. That was lovely, and I hope all goes well for you two in the future. Our next post is by user ThrowawayCheese23, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for not entertaining a girl who thinks I got her pregnant from fingering? I, 21 male, went on like 2 dates with this girl, 18 female. The first date was alright, but I wasn't really feeling her. I tried to end it with a kiss, and she told me she didn't know how to kiss. That turned into me teaching her how to kiss, and honestly, I should have known that she was a bit too young for me right there. I decided to give it one more shot. Second date, we went to the movies. She decided she wanted to help me out. I finished, cleaned up, and then helped her out. That was it. No sex, no anything beyond that. I thought it was mutual that we weren't super into each other because neither of us reached out after. A few days ago, she texts me saying her period is 3 weeks late and she's really scared. She even sent me articles saying pregnancy can happen from fingering if there's somehow sperm involved. I told her to calm down, that it's super unlikely. For one, my hands didn't even touch my sperm, and two, sperm cannot survive that long. And that's what I told her. I kind of left it at that. I thought it was pretty funny that she actually thinks she's pregnant. Now she keeps blowing up my phone. I've honestly started to ignore her. My friends think it's funny, but also say it's kinda messed up that I'm ignoring her while she is scared. I tried to reassure her, but I don't know what else I could do. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Crocobot says, exactly why sex ed is so important. In the 7th grade, during sex ed, my friend Emily asked the teacher, can a girl get pregnant from sitting on a guy's lap? And the answer was, if fluids are exchanged through the fabrics, it's possible. I never let Emily sit on my lap after that. I thought I got pregnant in middle school because my boyfriend at the time gave me gum during passing period and then told me after class that he'd stuck it down his pants. I didn't want lunch detention for the next day, so I'd swallowed it, and when my period was late, I thought that had caused it because boy stuff probably got into my stomach and started making a baby. I now work in public health with adolescent prevention focused on teen pregnancy and healthy relationship education. Ori Norman says, I wasn't really feeling her. Being immediately followed by saying you moved in for a kiss is absolutely insane. She may be stupid, but that move right there, yeah, you're an asshole. If you're not feeling a connection, then don't lead them on. Shitty thing to do, man. I've got to agree, first date night was alright, but I wasn't really feeling her. I tried to end it with a kiss. I understand why you tried to end it with a kiss, because you're just trying to get some. But why? There's other people you can get it with. Just make it be known to her that you're not feeling, up to date, but be open with your intentions. But hey, what you choose to do with your life is up to you. It is common, it is a thing that happens, and I get why people are upset. But I tend to agree, you weren't feeling her and you still chose to get involved with her. There's a lot going on here, and I think everyone in the story needs to learn some personal responsibility and get some sex education. I don't think you're an asshole for not entertaining the girl who thought she got pregnant from you doing that. Not at all. I think you did your best to kind of educate her and be like, no, actually, it's not possible. None of that was happening. Please just chill out. I get where you're coming from, and I think it's interesting that she sent that article. Obviously, she cares a lot about this because she doesn't want to be pregnant, and she's looking for anything that validates her opinion, but she should also be looking for things that invalidate that opinion and would show that what they did has pretty much a 0% chance of getting her pregnant. And now, on to the update. So I took the most popular piece of advice from my original post, and that was to have her take a pregnancy test. I decided to text her back, and I apologized for ignoring her. We met up, and I bought her 2 pregnancy tests. She took them inside the bathroom of the pharmacy that we bought them from. I waited outside the bathroom and let her do her thing. After she was done, she asked me to come inside, and we waited for the results. Now we're waiting for the results. It's been almost 10 minutes, and the test is still blank. She's looking at the test wondering why there's no results, and she's like, I think I took it wrong. And I asked her what she meant, because how do you take a pregnancy test wrong? And she said she forgot to take off the white cap at the part that you pee on, I guess. She told me she didn't have to pee anymore, and she would just take them when she got home. I said okay, and I drove her home. 2 hours later, she sends me pictures, and just like I expected, they both came back negative. I responded with, oh, okay, good. And she liked the message, so I think we're on the same page about not communicating anymore. So yeah, she's not pregnant. In the comments, New Introduction says, I can't get over the fact that she peed on the sticks while they were still capped and proceeded to take them home to pee on them some more. OP says, the only thing in my head at that moment was all the comments that were saying she was pretending to be uneducated. I'm a man, but I think even I would have realized that I have to take the cap off first. Sixpack says, block her and move on. No amount of ass is worth it if this person is this stupid. I once dated a guy who couldn't boil water. Not worth it. I'm glad she's not pregnant, Because if her sex ed was that poor, she's so not going to be ready to be a mum. Once when I worked retail, I was at the counter doing stuff, and these two teenage girls, like 13 or 14, were right next to me looking at movies or something, when one of them turns to the other and asks, "Can you get pregnant from a blowjob?" I've never overheard a more concerning sentence before or since. Oh, Jesus. Guys, if I'm watching porn, can I get pregnant from that? Is mpreg from porn viewing a real thing? I don't know, I've seen some of you guys write fantasy novels down in the comments down below, and you got me concerned now that reality might be mixing with fiction. Anyway, I'm glad that he took the advice of the comments and went and did the pregnancy test with her to get her mind at ease. That was the correct thing to do. And I think it's also the correct thing to do to block her afterwards and move on with your life. Might not be what some people like to hear, but I think it's the truth. Whatever you two had going on has well and truly run its course. You know, you'll find someone better, OP. I believe in you. Thank you for the story. Am I the asshole here for moving into the house that I inherited, even though the lodger doesn't feel comfortable around men? So I inherited a house that came with a lodger, with a 6-year-old child that is renting one of the rooms. She's upset because I have, in her words, made it terrifying to live here since I've moved in. She doesn't feel safe with her and her daughter living with a man that she just met, and she wants to stay away from men because of issues with her ex. That's why living with an old woman felt so safe. By the way, this is all being communicated through notes that she's been leaving because she avoids me. I've already wrote back that she can move out whenever. She left another note saying that she will, but she really doesn't want to have to because the reason she moved in here was so that her daughter could go to the school district here, and the only way she was able to afford to live here is because her lease is just $150 for utilities and housework, and they might have to move back in with her ex. So basically, she wants me to move out. I don't want to because the house still has a mortgage that I would have to continue to pay in addition to paying for rent somewhere else. There technically is the option to get a female tenant, however the prices for renting a single bedroom won't cover the mortgage and I can't afford to make up the difference. Plus, I'd have to deal with my grandma's things faster than I want to. Another big thing is that I can avoid tax reassessment on the house if I move within a year, which is also why selling is definitely off the table. In the comments, Flounder Kind says, "You own the house. If she doesn't like it, she can move." She's literally a choosing beggar making these statements while living there damn near rent-free. Yeah, I would give her options. 1, you can buy the house for X amount of dollars. 2, we can sign a new lease with the understanding that I will be living here for $300 plus per month. Or 3, you give her a formal notice to vacate. Assuming she doesn't have an active lease, it's month to month. You can be apologetic, but not overly. It sucks that her situation has changed, but that's not your fault. That's life. Dastardly740 says, "Your last sentence made me think of something. It also sucks that OP's grandmother died. The tenant has kind of decided that her sucky situation is more valid than OP's. Besides loss, OP has some financial limitations and evidently needs the rent. I mean, if he gets rid of her, he can get someone to rent for a lot more than $150 a month for 2 people. I'm so sorry about your grandma. Please know that one day you will laugh more than you will cry when you think of her. She left that house to you because she hoped that you'd be blessed by her gift. If you can afford to allow this tenant to break her lease with no penalty, maybe offer that, but I don't think your grandma would want you walking on eggshells and putting this woman and her 6-year-old ahead of your own grieving process during what should be your chance to go through your grandma's things at your own pace. Yours is not the only room in town. She can find another situation. What, are you supposed to leave the place frozen in time until this first grader graduates high school? I'm proud of you for even considering this woman's feelings. But don't let her guilt trip you into debt over what your grandma probably hoped would help you jumpstart some wealth building. You are a beloved grandson, and certainly not the asshole. Yeah, I don't think you're the asshole here for moving into the house. Situations change, life happens, and it's unfortunate what she's going through, but her situation is not more important than yours. You don't owe her anything. She's had a very good run of such an incredibly cheap amount of rent. She can't have her cake and eat it too, though. You now own the house. Again, you don't owe her anything, so I don't think she has any right to be making demands, saying that, you can't live here in your house because my child isn't comfortable around men, neither am I. You just gotta do what's best for you in this situation, OP. Don't let her pressure you into moving out, and if she keeps pushing, you just have to evict her. That's how it goes. Not the asshole. And now, onto the update. I had other stuff going on in my life, so I sort of put off trying to talk to her, and honestly was debating about what to say to her. I guess procrastinating took care of the problem, because I realized yesterday that she had moved out sometime in the last few days. So I guess that's it. In the comments, Martin Isn't Murder says, "Congratulations. I would definitely be changing the locks because she had keys. Enjoy your new home in peace." Totally agree. New place, new keys. Peace of mind is worth the small cost. I do feel bad for the lady and her kid, but at the end of the day, this is not anything that you are obligated to solve or make allowances for her, especially if she couldn't talk to you directly over it. There aren't really any options that allowed her to continue living there without him. He couldn't afford to maintain the house and an apartment, she couldn't afford higher rent. Selling the place, even if he was willing to, would probably still result in her being forced to leave. It definitely sucks for her, but even if he was able to afford moving out, he's entitled to live there more than she is. You love to see a situation resolving itself without any particular conflict, and while I feel bad for her that this is the hand that life has dealt her in this current situation, I trust that she has made the best decision for herself and her daughter, because that did not seem like a tenable living arrangement for either of them. So, thank you for the update, OP. Glad that it worked out for you. Unexposed is by user Velvet, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for wanting to leave my wife after she gave birth to my child? My 34 male, wife 32 female, and I have been married for 7 years. After a miscarriage, she admitted to me that she had had multiple affairs over the last 4 years of our marriage. Her last affair ended a year ago. She begged for us to go to therapy to work on our marriage, but I refused to go. During this time, I'd moved out of the house. Occasionally, I would go back to take care of the house and animals, and she would constantly try to manipulate me into coming back. I had every intention of getting a divorce, but the process is slow. I hated the betrayal I felt, but I also missed my wife during the separation. One thing led to another, and we had sex, and she got pregnant again. Shortly after the news came, I had to leave for work, about 12 hours away from her. She would call me to give me updates about the pregnancy and talk about our marriage. We were separated for the majority of her pregnancy. I told her that I still wanted a divorce, but I would consider reconciling after the baby was born. After several months away from her, I came to the realization that I could not trust her, nor could I forgive her for her infidelity. I feel like the last 7 years of my life has been a lie. While I was away from her, I met someone, and a relationship blossomed between us. I truly feel like I love this woman. She's been made aware that I'm still married and that I have a baby on the way. My wife is not aware of my new girlfriend." Oh, this is so messy. Oh my god, make better decisions, please. Fast forward to a month ago. I had to go home for the birth of our baby boy. My wife has been pressuring me to reconcile, but I told her that I plan to divorce her again. After the birth of our baby boy, she's been blaming me for ruining our family because I don't want to stay with her and try to fix our marriage. Oh, the audacity! I want to have a co-parenting relationship with my wife, but she's acting very erratic while I'm here for our son. Am I the asshole for wanting to leave my wife? Any advice on how to deal with this is appreciated. In the comments, info, are you sure the baby's yours? OP says, baby is mine. Get a paternity test to ensure. See a lawyer. Take your time with someone who is involved with a married man expecting a baby and is okay with it. Everyone sucks here. Your wife sucks on you for cheating on you repeatedly over 4 years. That's a serious betrayal, and it's understandable that you'd feel like the entire marriage was a lie. But you're not innocent in this either. You were emotionally and physically indecisive for months, which gave her mixed signals. You told her that you wanted a divorce, but you kept showing up, had unprotected sex resulting in a baby, and continued entertaining her hopes of reconciliation, even while emotionally checking out. You even said that you consider reconciling after the baby was born. That's a huge breadcrumb to someone already trying to save a relationship. Then, instead of clarifying things, you started a new relationship while still married, didn't tell your wife about it, and are still hiding it from her now that the baby is born. That's not just messy, it's dishonest. You're fully within your rights to leave the marriage. Infidelity is a deal breaker for many, but your execution has been cowardly and passive. You didn't set clear boundaries, didn't communicate with honesty, and avoided taking firm action when it mattered most. And now you're reaping the chaos that comes from that. My advice? Divorce her now. No more delays, no more maybes. Tell her about your new relationship, not to rub it in, but because she deserves clarity. She's parenting with you and should understand the new dynamic. Lawyer up and establish formal custody and support agreements. Don't leave this up to emotional negotiations. Stop playing emotional games with her and yourself. You're not the victim anymore. You're a participant in this mess. Get therapy, not for reconciliation, but for you, to process the betrayal, learn better communication boundaries, and avoid repeating this kind of mess in the future. You're not the asshole for wanting to leave, but you're the asshole for how you handled it. Yeah, the more the story went on, and the more that he didn't actually detach himself from it, I'm like, man, it's getting hard to defend you on this one, because you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. Because the logical thing to do would have been, after finding out that she'd been cheating on you for 4 years, to just get the hell out of Dodge. Why wouldn't you just leave? Your wife has been cheating on you with multiple different people for the last 4 years, and only wrapped up the last one, like, not too long ago by the sounds of it. Brother, I don't want to victim blame, but what is wrong with you? Where is your spine? Please, God, why did you stay with her? Why did you have sex with her again? Bro! She's obviously a piece of shit. This is why you just leave, so that she can be the ultimate piece of shit that has betrayed you, that has destroyed the sanctity of your marriage, and you get to start again, fresh and clean, away from that mess. But no, you had to go put your dick back in it, for reasons unknown to me. I think because of everything that happened after the fact, and that you kept everyone in limbo, you did lie to her, yes. She deserved to be lied to, I agree with you there, but you kept her holding on to hope that you could fix things while lying to her face. Yes, she deserved that. She deserved to be hurt in the way that she hurt you, but why did you have to do all that? Because the way that it dragged on so much, and it's gotten to this point, does make me empathize with the "everyone sucks here" commenters, to be like, this was way messier than it needed to be, you should have known better. I'm guessing you do know better, but you chose not to do better, so that makes you an asshole. Everyone sucks here, but her much more so than you. And now, on to the update. Thank you to all of those who do not think I was the asshole here. It's been a tough 2 years. Here's how it went down. I took a paternity test, and my son is confirmed to be mine. I have filed for divorce, but the state in which I lived in is very conservative and has a waiting period before it can be finalized. The divorce was filed as uncontested, and I will be paying child support while also staying in his life. I'm selling our house, and she's moving to a state close by where my son will only be a couple of hours away. This option also makes her closer to family. Custody arrangements will be updated once she is moved. This has been hard emotionally because she's blamed me for ruining our chances as a family and our son's future. It feels manipulative since I no longer want to be with her and I've taken care of her for our entire marriage. My wife still does not know about my girlfriend at the request of my girlfriend. As much as I want to integrate my girlfriend, this will take time to do, and I also felt like my wife doesn't have to know about her until everything is settled and the divorce is finalized. It's been difficult for me being away from my son, but I do get to see him every day. I was there for his birth and 3 weeks afterwards. I will be taking leave again to spend more time with my son, taking care of the house, the divorce, and to help get her and my son moved. I'm glad this marriage is ending, and while it's tough right now with my son, the mutual goal is to have a co-parenting relationship. Despite the things my wife has said and her wanting to continue the marriage, I feel my son will be better off knowing what an actual loving relationship is. My girlfriend has been very supportive of me, and I'm ready to move on in my life with her. Trying to get any help or legal advice in the state we got married has been a nightmare and has been overall negative to the choice that I've already made. The marriage is dead, but I will be in my son's life. I do not agree with the empty values there. Any advice on how to ensure a healthy co-parenting relationship without a lawyer is needed. Thank you all again. Without a lawyer is crazy, dog. What is wrong with you? In the comments, Tsunami Surfer says, "Not the asshole, but you really should not have slept with your wife that last time without protection. This made everything much more complicated by giving her leverage. Why would you have a child knowing she was an asshole and that you weren't sure that you were fitting back together? Poor child." And now he wants to integrate his new girlfriend, which I can only guess means bring her in as a third parent? These people have no business making a child. And now, onto the latest update. My wife was served with divorce papers and hired a lawyer despite us agreeing on the 50-50 division of marital assets, child support, and limited alimony. She told me that because I was leaving her, she wanted to make sure that things were done fairly. She advised me to not get my own lawyer since we already agreed on stuff, but I got one to represent me anyway. Jesus, you are so messy. That's so funny that she's like, you know what, don't get a lawyer. Don't protect yourself. You guys are quite something. I recently have seen my son again, despite her efforts to keep him away from me. Or me away from him. Oh my god. This is the gift that keeps giving. She has told me that she doesn't want to see me, after expressing how unfair that is that she agreed to coordinate with me to see him. I told her that I've been seeing someone, and she said that she suspected it during our separation, but that it didn't matter. She doesn't care that I love my new partner. She believes that we can still recover the marriage, even though I've moved on. Please, keep your delusions together in holy matrimony, you guys. I believe in you. I don't understand how she thinks this after her cheating throughout our marriage and me finding someone new. I told her that I'm upset that she can't take accountability for the breakdown of the marriage, hurting me and our son. I explained to her why it wouldn't be a good idea to stay together if she truly thinks I cheated on her. She's only concerned with herself and the life that I provided to her instead of caring about our son. She destroyed the last 7 years of my life with her and distorted how I saw myself. I tried to get over her infidelity the first time, thinking it was a mistake and something we could work through. I'm not willing to give her a third or fourth chance. I want to resolve this, but every time the issue comes up, she says something that feels manipulative. I will post a final update when we get there. Which, obviously we're not there yet, so we don't have that final update. In the comments, Peace-Loving Sister says, "The only thing you and your soon-to-be ex-wife should be discussing is the care of your son. By engaging her, you are setting yourself up to be manipulated and trapped just as you were trapped by the pregnancy. Sorry to have to say this, but you were really stupid to get yourself into that position. Ever heard of condoms? You knew this woman had been with other men, yet you had unprotected sex with her. That was stupid, so you are not without blame for those 7 years, and in fact, all the rest of your child's life. The fact that you would even ask whether you're the asshole for wanting to leave reveals your very real problem with logic and common sense." Casually Yash says, "I could honestly understand how she could manipulate you into discussing other things with you, but I'm still not trusting you fully on this, as you were stupid enough to make a baby with her after knowing that she cheated. Well, now that lawyers are involved, I think you should ask your lawyer to communicate with her for you, with the pretext that it will be easier in your divorce so that she won't have a problem with this. I would suggest you not to help her move, as it can very well be used against you in court if she plans to make a false case against you. And it would set up a wrong example for the future where she will always expect you to help with her move." My Dirty Alt says, She cheats repeatedly, gets a lawyer, and then says that you shouldn't get one. That is hilarious. Good luck, man. That poor child. Which is why I have no idea how this asshole is getting so many not the assholes. It's definitely an everyone sucks here situation, and he takes zero responsibility for his part, whilst constantly stamping his foot and pouting about his ex not taking any accountability. What a couple of prizes. Poor kid. I like how in the first update he thanks the people that voted not the asshole. He clearly doesn't think he has any responsibility for this situation. Exactly this. Honestly, it's a shame they broke up, and now more people have to suffer their narcissism and stupidity. The lack of accountability on behalf of the soon-to-be ex-wife for any role that she played in the dissolution of the marriage is utterly laughable. The comment which raked OP across the coals for the way that he went on about ending things? I more or less agree. I can't help but hold him in a bit of contempt. One thing didn't lead to another. Opie wanted to use and hurt his wife in a way similar to how she made himself feel hurt and used during their marriage. I'm not even getting started on that new girlfriend he found, who seems entirely too okay with this whole sordid scenario. I feel for that poor child though. The baby seems to be the only person in this story who doesn't deserve to be involved in all of this messiness. And I'm here for it. I'm loving every second of it. What an absolute shit show that story was. And I can't wait for that final update because it can only get worse from here. And I agree, that wife really did not take any accountability for it. She doesn't even seem sorry that she cheated on him for so many years and potentially was having another man's baby. She doesn't even address that. She's like, we both did wrong here. How about we just forget all that happened and just get back to the delusionally ever after that we set up in the first place? It's giving Norbert. I watched Norbert the other night and Rasputia was just cheating on Norbert to his face. And then Rasputia hit him with the, I'm with child, I'm pregnant. And he's like, I'm coming straight back to you, baby. Let's raise this child together. I think the wife took a page out of Norbert's book and just hit him with that strategy. But it didn't work, That's a lesson for life, guys. Things don't always work out the way you plan them, especially if you copy how the movies do it. Also, out of all of this, I'd love to know what OP's new girlfriend has to say about this whole situation. Something's got to be wrong with her to be cool with all of this. I agree with those comments as well. How the hell is she sticking by him this whole time, seeing all of this messiness? She has got to be loving this. She's got to be living for it. Which, oh my god, there's gotta be some screws loose with her as well. No normal person can survive a situation like this, I swear to God. And once again, I will say, if this is love, keep this love the hell away from me. Maybe they should form a throuple that protects the rest of the world from their craziness. I'm so serious right now. Thank you for the story, OP. Keep up your little delusions. I'm waiting with bated breath for more story from you.